Wow. Woody. Hey, y'all, I had to do a quick live real quick. That's why I ain't no music in the beginning. But I had to get on here real quick because Shakka almost is doing the most, his biggest suit impression, which is not hard for him because they're all suits. So I had to hurry up and get on live. I want to just review some of the things they saying why they fucking live. You know what I'm saying? I thought that might have been a great idea. Get on here, spontaneous shit. You know how we doing, nigga. These pseudo niggas is wild as fuck, man. They got about like 400 people in the building, so we're gonna check them out real quick and listen to this crazy shit this nigga be saying. I be telling y'all these dudes are unconventional as hell, and he went with the white man's a liar logic. That's what all these Afrocentrics do. The white man's a liar, and y'all just believe and trust in him. Africa is really upside down. So what we gonna do, man, we gonna watch this shit and listen to all these damn pseudo claims these niggas be making about Egypt and North Africa as a whole. And we know North Africa is separate genetically from sub-Saharan Africa. How we know that? Because for the most part, the genes are different. The people are different. In ancient times, okay, and this is something we always have to tell Afrocentrics, right? And I always have to teach Afrocentrics. You got a lot of bad doctrine, and you don't understand that we're in 2025 with up-to-date science, up-to-date data has shown and proved that most of these ancient people living in North Africa would be considered non-African genetically, right? They're not the same as their sub-Saharan African counterparts. So you get these people with the damn pseudo mumbo jumbo, you're going to see this crazy shit that this guy says. So we're going to rewind this so we can define this. So we're going to go back. Let me see where we at. Let me go back. Share my screen.
Africa and study is Charles V from other people's reaction. The moment you come back in here,
I heard you calling me, but you know I had to make a quick bathroom run.
Watch this. Oh, okay. Yeah, I appreciate it. I figured that. That's why I didn't start.
Before I let this continue on, you know what I'm saying? Fair use. Copyright 107 says that we can give our commentary and our criticisms of this video. I just had to do this real quick, man. Give my commentary and my critiques. Because he just was saying so much. He was coming out the chain. He was coming out the gate with the pseudo. Like, he went 100%, 110% pseudo in the first 2 minutes of him speaking. Like, check this out.
Beating you up. I was just like, here you go again. He left me alone. And what I was saying to your audience, is that I'm the kind of person I feed off of live response, right? So that anytime I do a guest appearance and I'm on the platform, the host is always there with me throughout. It's a conversation that people can see us having, and they can see your reaction to the things that I'm saying, because people do that. People feed off of other people's reactions, right? So when you're not present, especially with what I just said a moment ago, right? You said yourself,
blah, 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 blah. No,
I said, when I raised the question, what would make somebody think that there was no connection between Kemet and Africa? You said, that's a great question, right? And then I led into an even greater question that came out of that, but you weren't here to respond.
The brother said, what would lead somebody thinking that Kemet is not connected to West Africa? I don't know. Maybe it's a different gene, different genetics, genomics, different ancestry. Maybe that's why people are doing that. We don't live in 1800s no more. We live in 2025. We pretty much have an idea of the gene frequencies and the differences between people living in Egypt and people living in West Africa. There is a difference. We can sit up here and pretend like it isn't. There's a huge difference in the populations between the Egyptians and the West Africans, whether we're going Benin, Togo, Cameroon. There's a huge difference. So, nah, bro, that was a bad faith argument right there, man. You trying to manipulate the situation to see the people watching, to pull them into your blackology.
So I'm gonna draw this. I'm going to draw that analogy again, so that people can see your reaction to it when I say it. When you take European kingdoms, right? If you look at whether it's the Habsburg, whether it's the Holy Roman Empire, whatever it is, whichever one you want to name, the Louis, whatever, the King Charles, all of them, right? The Henrys. When you take the Carolingians, right? When you take all of these different monarchies and kingdoms, governorates, whatever you want to call them, when you take all of these polities, nobody ever says, oh, well, nobody ever asked the question, well, what side of the continent was King James from? Does anybody ever ask that?
They don't have to. They don't have to because we know that he comes from West Europe. There's nobody else claiming that King James came from the Balkans or he came from Eastern Europe or he came from outside of East. No one says that. So this is a false equivalency. You guys are trying to claim that there's a connection between West Africans and Egyptians. And this is all a bad faith argument. And then you come up with, why nobody question King James? Why would anyone question? Everybody believes and knows that he comes from Western Europe, that he comes from what we call the British and Scottish Isles. Nobody is making the claim that he came from outside of that. Y'all are doing that shit with West Africans and Egyptians. You and Jonathan. That's why I knew him, man. I knew him as Bro Jonathan from Armin Roswell. That's how I knew him. I know he called Smash Rockwell. When I first heard that, I didn't know who the fuck that was because I always knew him as Jonathan. You and him are hell-bent on trying to make and rewrite, actually, the genes and ancestry of ancient Egyptians and trying to shoehorn sub-Saharan African people into ancient Egypt. And you're just not going to be able to do that because at the end of the day, it is 2025. We can see the genes and ancestry and makeup of these people. We can see it now. There's paper after paper, evidence after evidence pointing towards a North African region being pretty much connected to Eurasia. The DNA being a continuity between the two continents, those portions right there. The Levant being an open corridor, Europe being an open corridor, bringing in people for thousands of years. So it's like, bro, like, wake the fuck up, man. Leave that motherfucking 100-year-old Afrocentric bullshit where it belongs, in the goddamn garbage.
No, your mic is dead. We couldn't hear you. Sorry, your mic was dead.
No, nobody never asked that.
Right. Nobody ever asked, well, what side of the continent is King James from? Right? Nobody ever asked, well, what side of the continent of Europe is Charles V from? Or what side of the continent? And it really doesn't matter because for the most part, in many respects, most of these families, because of the way they moved, they were so intermarried that, you know, at the you didn't know which particular lineage was sitting on the throne. If you draw family trees and you look at all of these divisions, they cross like riverines, right? And so
and one more thing, I'm sorry to cut you off. I forgot to tell you that is no profanity too. No profanity on the channel. Go ahead, continue, brother.
Okay. Did I use profanity just now?
No, you didn't. No, you didn't. I just wanted to let you know.
Okay, cool. You just freaked out when I said coochie, so I'm pretty sure that profanity would be out of the question, right? So, thank you for the redundancy, but I appreciate it. So, the point I'm making is that nobody ever bothered to ask, well, what side of the continent of Europe that these particular people come from, so that we can say that they are or are not related to these people from the other side of the continent. We don't do that. We only do that with Black people. We only do that with Africa. Why do we do that with Africa? We do that with Africa because of the oldest trick in the book, or the oldest strategy.
That's a good point you made, man. That's a hell of a good point.
That's my point. We only do that with Africa. Well, these people are located over here.
And we say, what part of Africa are you from? What part of this you from? What part? You're right. That's a good point.
Nobody does that with Europe.
Yeah.
They don't do that with Europe, right? As divided as Europe is, as ethnically diverse as Europe is, right? We could talk about Europe being ethnically diverse without it being racially diverse. But when it comes to Africa and study and the connection between Kemet and West Africa or any other parts of Africa, it doesn't have to be just West Africa, right? It could be Southern Eastern Africa or South Kemet and any other parts of Africa, or Northwestern Africa or Central Africa, right? When it comes to Kemet, all of a sudden, Kemet has to be reserved for some foreign, non-Black, non-African people. So that's the real question. It's not whether or not if it was related to West Africa or not. I mean, we're going to look at that. But that's not the real question. The real question is, why are you trying to rope off Egypt and circumscribe it for some foreign creation? You understand? For some non-African, non-Black creation. And then you want to make these false distinctions between Africans north of the Sahara, which is really what it is. We need to start speaking. We need to start instituting our.
Y'all hear all that? You hear all the garbage he's spewing. So now they always appeal to conspiracy. Oh, they're just trying to rope Egypt away from the rest of Africa. Egypt is not. I'm going to say this again. Along with the rest of North Africa, it's not just Egypt. The rest of North Africa is pretty much separate from sub-Saharan Africa from a genetic standpoint, meaning the ancestry of the people living there. The people living in sub-Saharan Africa have a different set of autosomes. Genetically, they are completely different. North Africans have their own set of autosomes that are more similar to Eurasians. And this is what you guys will never get to wrap your head around because you got your head too far up. Dr. Ben Buchanan's ass, Dr. Small's ass. You got your head so far up their asses, and you're not really looking at the information as it grew and as it updated. When you study ancient North Africa, and more papers are coming out, right? We're not living in the dark ages no more. More and more papers are coming out explaining. We just had a paper come out explaining that Europeans came through the Sicily Strait and started to inhabit Tunisia and Algeria. We're talking 7,000 years ago. So North Africa is completely different than sub-Saharan Africa from an ancestral standpoint. Completely different. That's why even people that are dark skinned, because you keep using that word black, even those people possess genes and haplogroups that are not compatible with someone like a West African. Right? Y'all just look from things from a superficial level, the morphological level, and the phenotypic level. That's not how you determine ancestry. Even those people don't share the same ancestry as West Africans. Even them. The issue is y'all want to talk people or ancestry of people without dealing with the field of science that directly elucidates the ancestry of people. It's called genetics. You got to look at the DNA. And again, North Africa from a genetic and genomic level is separate from sub-Saharan Africa. That's just a fact. That's an empirical fact, man. Keep your little made-up ass conspiracy theories and shit.
Our cardinal truth. And one of our cardinal truths is that what white people call sub-Saharan Africa is actually North Saharan Africa. Okay? They flipped upside down the map. Egypt is actually sub-Saharan Africa, if you want to be technical about it. Okay?
You hear this nonsensical babble? And look, you got Sean Super Wavy in here talking about some preach, Shakka, preach. This is garbage. This is garbage, man. Africa is upside down. So if Africa's upside down, the whole world got to be upside down, right? Can't just isolate one continent and say it's not oriented correctly. It needs to be right side up. That is the dumbest shit ever. And they do this based off of the Nile River. Oh, the Nile. We know rivers flow south. So how is the map oriented correctly? Because we know the Nile flows into the Mediterranean. I almost cussed. the river can be higher on the plane. So it can be at a higher altitude and then go down. You guys don't think. You don't use your damn noggin. Y'all just say stupid shit. The map don't have to be upside down. The continent itself doesn't need to be flipped. Y'all just don't understand topography, and you don't understand landscapes. Obviously, you don't. To say some dumb shit like that. At the end of the day, a river can flow south or flow down because it's higher in relation to the sea level. Oh my God, this is crazy, man. This is crazy, nonsensical bullshit. What else do you expect from Afrocentricity? This is what you get. It's like, oh, I hate this restaurant. They always have the same thing. Stop going to the restaurant. The restaurant y'all keep going to is the Afrocentric restaurant. And you get served the same bullshit every time. The same garbage. This man is telling you that the map, and this is not novel. He didn't just come up with this. This is some shit circulated in these extreme Afrocentric groups. That the map is oriented upside down. And really, Egypt is sub-Saharan Africa. That make no goddamn sense. And really, Mali and Benin, Togo and Ghana and Tanzania, all that's North Africa. Shut your dumb ass up, man. Come on, bro. That's some goofy shit. You's a goofy goober.
Egypt is at the bottom of Africa. Kemet. It was like the toilet bowl of Africa out of which everything else flushed out into the world. Okay? So let's be honest about it. It's a toilet bowl that we're proud of. Right? We're proud of that toilet bowl, right? It's almost like having a toilet bowl made of gold and diamonds, but it's still our toilet bowl. If you turn the map right side up, Egypt is sub-Saharan Africa. Algiers, Morocco, Tunisia, Libya, all of that is sub-Saharan Africa when you turn the map right side.
Because we all got smartphones. I got the new Pixel 9, Google Pixel 9 Pro XL. We all got smartphones, right? Go on Google right now and pose the question, why does the Nile River flow into the Mediterranean? I'm going to show you what's going to come up. All this little trickery y'all to get away with 30 years ago, you shouldn't be getting away with it today. But you are, because people are indoctrinated. These people are sheep. They're just following your every word. Why? Because they just want to follow some sensational bullshit. Oh, we're black Egyptians. We're the Egyptians. We could be the Egyptians, sir. No, you ain't no goddamn Egyptians, man. Majority of African Americans descend from West Africans and Europeans. Mainly West Central Africans and Western Europeans. That's majority of our ancestry. Our ancestry does not go back to Egypt. Okay? But all we got to do to address this dumbass statement about the continent actually being turned upside down, all you got to do is type in, why does the Nile River flow into the Mediterranean Sea? Doesn't all rivers flow down? How does it flowing up? So the map got to be upside. No, you idiot. The difference in elevation, just like I told you guys, the difference in elevation is why the Nile River flows into the Mediterranean Sea. Okay? Why? Because the Nile River, the valley, is higher in elevation than the Mediterranean Sea, above the sea level. This is simple shit that you learn in middle school. And you got adults, you got grown men talking about the map of the continent of Africa is not oriented correctly. Think about the dumb shit that's coming out this man's mouth. Oh, it took me 2 seconds. I typed into Bing, why does the Nile River flow into the Mediterranean Sea? The answer is very simple. The Nile River flows north into the Mediterranean Sea due to the difference in elevation between its source, Lake Victoria, and its endpoint, the Mediterranean Sea. So no, there's no need to flip the entire goddamn map. That's silly shit. You niggas is silly. The map is not upside down. It is oriented correctly. Goofball. You ain't no damn cartographer. Nigga tell it, oh, man, I ain't smelling what you selling, man. But that's usually the impetus or the reasoning behind them saying that the map is flipped upside down, because they look at the Nile Valley River, they look at the Nile River and say, oh, well, it's flowing into the Mediterranean. And we know rivers flow south, they flow down, not up. So that means the map's upside down. That's some idiocy on a whole nother level. And you wonder why no one takes this community seriously, because you say dumb, unlearned shit like that. This is retardation, man. Anyway.
So we need to get our cardinal points straight.
No. You need to stop speaking on shit like this and go read a geography book. Go read a geography book, read a geology book, and learn topography. Learn the differences between elevation of rivers and its endpoints and why they flow into the damn river. Learn that first. How the hell are you going to tell somebody else to learn the bullshit you talking about or learn something else when you don't even understand that?
Let's start with that. Now, for the remainder of the discussion, we will turn the map upside down again so that we can speak in conventional parlance. So when we speak about Africa below the Sahara, right, you know exactly what I'm talking about, which would be modern day Central Africa, the Sahel region, Central West Africa, right, or just West Africa, Equatorial West Africa. People just say West Africa without even defining which part of West Africa they're talking about, right? It's like there are different parts of West Africa. You have Equatorial West Africa. You have Southwestern West Africa. You have Northwestern West Africa. And Black people occupied all of it. All of it, from the north to the south. So, you know, there's a lot of things that we need to put.
And that doesn't, you're not saying anything. Black people occupied all of West Africa, and there's different types of people there. This is the issue with trying to use racial typological thinking. This is the issue, because now what he's doing is what 19th century racists would do, is say, well, this is the black land, this is Negro land, they're all black, and the conversation ends there. No, rainforest hunter-gatherers are not the same as the Igbo. They're not the same as the people of Mali. They're not the same as the Chadic speakers. They're not the same. There's differences in between these groups. Y'all quick to bring up that Africa is one of the most genetically diverse continents on the earth, but don't understand the diversity. The people are different. Even though they're neighbors, they even have different ancestry. You got Baggara Arabs that live there today that look like everybody else. You would call them black, but their ancestry goes back to those Arabian males that expanded there within the last 400 or 500 years. So you can't just go off of, oh, there's black people living here. So what? You're not saying anything. That's the same thing you pseudos do with Europe. Oh, there's dark skinned people there. They're black. That don't mean shit. They don't mean anything. King Emmanuel II was described as a dark-skinned man. He's depicted as a dark-skinned man. Most likely, his genetics will not go back to the West Central African. Just saying someone's black is not a goddamn DNA test. Saying someone's black does not tell you their deep ancestry. Don't tell you none of that shit. Black people are here, black people are there. Who cares? What separates North Africa from Sub-Saharan Africa is the ancestral components. That's what separates them majorly. Majorly. Just calling people black don't mean shit. Anyway.
Put in context. But the main thing, again, that I wanted to put in context is, why is there this question of any connection between Kemet and West Africa? The reason for that disconnect in the European narrative, right? And we can't even call it the Arab narrative, because the Arabs did not create that narrative, right? They inherited and benefited from that narrative, but they didn't create it. The people who created that narrative, that there was no connection between Kemet and West Africa or any other part of Africa, the people who created that narrative were the last people to discover Kemet, Europeans, right? These are the last people to discover Kemet. They were the ones who created that narrative, this mythology.
And that's not true either. That's not true either. If you guys been following my channel, you know we covered the Old Kingdom sample that was found in Nurat. The mitochondrial DNA was haplogroup I, which is associated with European hunter-gatherers. Okay, we can go down the list on this. Jehudi Nak, the Jehudi Nak mummy that was discovered had a haplogroup U5, which is associated with European hunter-gatherers. Again, the North African paper that just came out talks about Europeans crossing over the Sicily Strait with boats. That's the new information that just came out this month, earlier this month. So for him to say, "Oh, Europeans are the last people to discover," shut the fuck up. This lets you know that these people are stuck in a time warp. They live in the 60s and the 70s. They do not live in contemporaneous times. They don't live in 2025 because they're not reading the 2025 papers. They're not reading 2020, 24. You're stuck in a time loop. You're still thinking based off of race. People have to move and live according to their race, and their ancestry is backed up by their race. When all of that shit's social. When we start talking about ancestry, we're dealing with their mothers and fathers. The DNA tracks your mothers and fathers and everything in between. That's your autosomal nuclear DNA is everything. And the nuclear DNA of a sub-Saharan African is vastly different from the nuclear DNA of a North African. Vastly different. The gap is as wide as the Nile. As the Nile River, since we were talking about Egypt. The gap is that big. And if you know anything about Egypt, Egypt was not, the Nile Valley portion was not inhabited until about, 7,000 BCE. And what do we see? Pastoralism. Where does pastoralism start? Pastoralism starts outside of the country and not within it. You niggas is behind the fucking 8 ball, man. In order to have animal husbandry, you have to have people that know and are familiar with those damn animals. In order to have crop cultivation, you have to have people that know and familiar with those crops in order for them to cultivate it and yield a successful seed, right? So y'all are way behind. Y'all stuck in a time warp. You're stuck in the 1960s. You're stuck in the Black Panther era. It's 2025, nigga. Start reading papers, up-to-date information, and learn some shit. How about that?
Of this, of these separated entities in Africa. They wanted to make Africa seem like it was full of disparate, isolated pockets, right? To give you an idea of some kind of wasteland, some kind of impoverished wasteland where people are marginalized, right? But here's the crazy part about it. When you think about it, they say that the people in sub-Saharan Africa or Africa below the Sahara, there was no connection between them and Egypt because the Sahara desert was too big. That's what they say. Well, here's my question, and nobody ever bothers to ask. If the Sahara if the Sahara desert was too big, SANETER, I have a question I have to ask you. How did Jews in the first and second century CE, there were no cars, no trucks. How did Jews start the trans-Saharan trade? If there was a trans-Saharan trade that went from Timbuktu in West Africa and Mali all the way up to Egypt, and the Jews manned that trade until the Arabs took it over, how come they were able to navigate the Sahara? Is it because they're special? Your mic is dead. I don't know why your mic is dead. Nobody heard that, no.
Oh, no, that's only because I have like a TV in the background.
Let's turn the TV off, man.
No, I can't turn it off. Somebody watching it. Somebody watching it, man. I can't do all that. But no, I said no. They're not special. It was not special.
Right. So it's like common sense shit like this. Excuse me. Common sense stuff like that. Right? Common sense stuff like that. That people don't bring up. So how are you standing there saying that African people were unable to interact between Egypt and West Africa because the Sahara was so big, but first century Jews were able to come in and run the trans-Saharan trade from Mali in West Africa all the way up to Egypt. Make it make sense. The Jews had a special Moses flying carpet that they could go back and forth across the Sahara, but Africans were too stupid.
This is what we call a straw man argument and a false equivocation. It has nothing to do with the intellectual prowess of a damn sub-Saharan African. It has nothing to do with this. It comes from a need and a want standpoint. And it looks as if, according to all the evidence, that the people that live in Northwest, that's where West Africans really come from. Majority of them, not excluding the rainforest hunter gatherers and the Khoisan related peoples, the haplogroup A00s, they've probably been there forever. But E1B1A variants that we see and the other RV88 variants that we see, these people get there rather late. West Africa has not been inhabited, densely inhabited, what we call West Africa, like Nigeria, Ghana, for, beyond 4,500 years ago. We start seeing a lot of population growth after 4,500 years ago. That's 2,500 BC. This is how we know we're not Egyptians, because while the dynastic Egyptian shit was going on, West Africa was starting to grow in number, and we know where these people came from. They came from Northwest, where modern day Mauritania and Mali is today, and the Western Sahara. They came from that region, and they came south. How do we know this? Because of the type of crops. The type of crops they were cultivating. And as the desert shrunk, we can trace those crops as they go down. It's called pearl millet. Those pearl millet crops make their way in what we call Mauritania with the Hartachit, right? And they make their way all the way down to the Katampo complex in Ghana. That's when we start seeing people move in waves and start to grow and sustain populations and what we now call West Africa, with Ghana, Nigeria, Cameroon, and surrounding regions like Benin, Togo, Senegal, those places. So we know for a fact that these people come from the northwest of Africa and down, not northeast, northwest. So you guys on the wrong side of history here. You're not making the same claim for Moroccans. It's on the same continent, but we're not saying, oh, the Moroccans came from Egypt. No. And we do know this, man. This is why Yoruba people and Igbo people, they have a strand of DNA that connect them to Ibero-Maurusians, because those are their North African counterparts. This is why Ibero-Maurusians had a semblance of DNA of what we call sub-Saharan African DNA. This is why the people that have the E1B1A variants ultimately come from Northwest Africa, not Northeast Africa. And during the time of dynastic Egypt, see, I could talk about this because I've read books on my channel live about the peopling of Nigeria, the peopling of West Africa, where they come from. When do we start seeing a population boom in West Africa? We start seeing it around 4,500 years ago, 2,500 BCE. Why this is going on? That's when dynastic Egypt is in its glory. That's when everything's getting popping over there. When I say we, I'm talking about West African descendants, for the most part, don't have anything to do with that. We were building up West Africa at the time. Easy shit to explain. Simple, kept it easy. You follow the crops, you see where the people were at. You start seeing the first city-states and all that. You see the note culture. You see all that during the time of the dynastic period of Egypt. Okay? So Egypt lasted a couple millennia, man. And during that time, West African people were growing and formulating in Ghana, Nigeria, Benin, Togo, Senegal, okay, Cameroon. And they matriculated from there. And they went south and east, right? And that's why you got Bantus in Kenya, Tanzania, even in South Africa. When they went to East Africa, those East African farmers, they acted as a buffer. They stopped our ass. We didn't get to go all the way up. We got stopped right there. Anyway, let it play.
Africans had no adventure. They had no trade. They had no nothing. They're stupid.
Well, Shakka, there's now Israelite in the Israelite community now teaching that the pyramids were built by aliens. This is an Israelite brother that's teaching
look,
them that the pyramids were built by aliens.
All right, so here's my thing, though. We have higher standards, so we don't discuss stupid stuff like that, right? This is not.
Excuse me, sir. You just got done trying to explain to the people that the continent of Africa is flipped upside down. You do discuss stupid shit. Excuse me, sir. You're trying to claim there's a connection between West Africans and Egyptians. That is dumb shit. It's 2025. And this ain't the 19th century. You can get away with that shit with Du Bois and them niggas back in 1915 and Marcus Garvey and them niggas 1915. It's 2025, man. Stop it. The fuck out of here. You trying to call somebody, oh, the alien shit. The alien shit sound probable with the bullshit you teaching.
Israelite kindergarten stupidity school. This is African historical literate time. So we don't discuss stupid Joe Rogan theories like that, okay, on this platform. And maybe you do, but I'm not going to discuss stupid stuff like that. So again,
okay.
I'm back to the point I'm making. The point I'm making is their claim does not stand on its face because nor on any merit. Because you have to be able to explain how a trans-Saharan trade took place before there were cars, trucks, and those things, right? You have to be able to explain it because they had no technology that was different than the Africans.
Mm-hmm.
So now you got to find another reason and another motive to say that there was no connection between West Africa and North Africa, right? You have to, right? In fact, I wasn't even going to show this, but I'm glad you said that. Let's look at that. I'm going to bring this up. I wasn't even going to use this, but since we're talking about it, let's look at that. Give me 1 second. I'm just going to open up a presentation that I did not have ready, but it only takes 2 seconds to grab it, right? So I'm here. I'm going to come here because, I mean, white people say things and black people don't question them intelligently. We don't. We just let them say whatever they want to say. And I don't know, we avoid it. I don't know what we do, but I think it's very strange. To me, I think it's very strange. Okay, hold on. Is it that one? Because I know I have two. It might be this one. Yeah. Here we go. We're going to look at this. I know SANETER going to see this and be like, oh. Here we go. Oh, no, I don't want the PDF. Oh, come on. Close that. I don't want the PDF. I want the PowerPoint. Here we go. All right. Okay. Here we go. Ghetto platform. Here we go. Okay. In fact, oh, this is another one. Negro land. Okay. Let me see.
Yeah, he's gonna mumble for a minute trying to find his PowerPoint. Let me see if I can just get straight to it. Here it is.
So a lot of these, since you wanted to bring up Israelites, a lot of these ignorant Israelites, they bring up the fact that a certain part of West Africa was referred to as Negro land. You ever heard them say that?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right. They love to show that, right? But you know what they don't tell you? They don't tell you anything about the idiot that made the map. You ever notice that?
Right. Yeah.
They never give you the history of the map. When was it made and who made it? Because once you see what that is, you're going to realize that I just wanted to show you that. You're going to realize that there's really nothing there to talk about, right? So hold on 1 second. I just want to show you, I want to show you this community in the Sahara that was, in fact, here we go. No, hold on. Here we go. Twat. Right. Hold on. Right.
That nigga said twat. He didn't say twat. He said
right.
Twat. Like,
excellent.
You twat.
Okay.
You goddamn twat.
Right. So watch this. Let's first just deal with, I'm going to share my screen again. Here we go. Share screen. All right. Entire screen. Allow. All right. Stop. Can you see my screen?
Yep.
Okay. This is Egypt up here, right? Or Kemet, right? This is Mali over here, right? You have Egypt and you have Mali. Okay? Hello?
Yeah, yes, I'm looking. I'm here.
Okay. When I ask, all right, response, call and response.
Yeah, I'm right here. I'm looking at it.
That's cool. We've been doing this long enough. You should know me by now. Shakka asks a question. He's looking for a response. Okay, it lets me know if I can keep moving. Okay, so that's Egypt. That's Kemet. That's Mali. Excuse me. That's Mali over here. Now, I want to talk about a place called Tuat, right? Tuat is all the way up here in North Africa, in the Sahara. Okay, it's actually this whole region up here was the Tuat region. Okay, it's a vast oasis region in southwestern Algeria. It is dotted by a dozen agglomerations of fortified hamlets, which are still inhabited. Although the original residents were Zenata Berbers, most of the present population is Arabic speaking. Medieval Arab historians such as Ibn Khaldun make occasional mention of the Tuat, but seem to know very little about it. The 14th century Moroccan traveler Ibn Battuta passed through in 1353, but gives few details. According to traditions mentioned by later Arab historians, are you listening to this? This part right here, this is important.
I'm listening right here.
All right. So later on, you can't say I didn't say this. Oh, Shakka, you never said that. I never heard that. And I'm like, no, it's because you don't pay attention. You're the worst student in the classroom. Watch. Jews arrived in the region at the beginning of the Common Era. That means 1st century CE. At the beginning of the Common Era, Jews arrived in North Africa. At the top, in what they call it? An oasis. Hold on, where is it? I want to get the correct term that they use. Right here. It's an oasis region in southwestern Algeria. Okay? And Jews got there in the 1st century of the Common Era. The Arabs add that in the year 570, this is 6th century, known as the Year of the Elephant in Arabic historiography, an influx of Jews built, this is the 6th century, built the curved fortified hamlet of Tamentit, right? The principal settlement in the region, and made it into an autonomous enclave to which Muslims are only.
This is all just petty fogging at this point. Who gives a damn if Jews travel through the desert, through the oasis communities? We talked about this a lot, right? The Garmontians did it. We know that happened. We know sub-Saharan Africans crossed the Sahara, but that's not what you guys are claiming. You're claiming that Egypt and West Africa has this connection. Y'all think that Egypt was inundated with these sub-Saharan African people. That's really what y'all saying. Because West African people are sub-Saharan, genetically, ancestrally. So when we look at these people over here, when we look at this whole demonstration that he's putting on right now, it's just crazy. It's crazy. And then look what's being said in the chat as he's speaking. Brother Roots is like, true. Everybody, Sean's a preach Shakka. I brought that up earlier. And then someone else made an interesting thing. Look, he says the hetero people in Namibia are both Nilonic and West Sudanese, yet are in the southern parts of Africa as Bantu. What does that even mean? That doesn't mean anything. They're in the same areas. Hey, look, Asiatic 77. I think this is I don't know who that is. I don't know who this is. I thought that was going to be Ngozi. But anyway, the hetero people in Namibia. This makes no sense. This is just nonsensical talk here. Because they're with Bantu people, I guess he's trying to extrapolate and say that means that Bantu people are in Egypt. That makes no sense. The evidence is that the Bantu sweep from Cameroon and go eastward, southeastward, and they get to Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania, and places like that. That's why they're there. They come from the West, stupid. They don't come from North Africa. They come from West Africa. So that don't make no sense. That was something else I saw in the comments. Because right now, Shakka almost is just pretty much trying to obfuscate the audience and confuse the audience, because Jews traveling across the desert don't prove your claim. That just means Jews travel across the desert. So I brought up the Garmontis. Oh, the Garmontis, they use the oasis communities and they travel north to south. That just means they did. Did some sub-Saharan Africans do it? Yes. We know they did it. How do we know they did it? Because of ancient DNA, right? But the large majority of North African DNA is not sub-Saharan African. You just gonna have to deal with that. Or just keep pretending and making shit up like you always do, and just living your fictional world that only exists in your head is not reflecting the reality. Right? Shakka researched the stone axes and found in Uturu, Igbo land is much older than Kush and Kemet. Preach. There was something else I saw that caught my eye over here on the side. The doggone people of Mali are often linked to ancient Egypt, with some theories suggesting that they may have descended from ancient Egyptians, possess knowledge of the cosmos, including the Sirius star. More nonsensical garbage here. What else we got here? I saw something else pop on the screen. I was like, let me pause it and talk about this while he pontificates about nothing. Actually, this has nothing to do with this. Look, Ahmed is claiming the Bantu Africans. Who are you claiming is the Bantu Africans? That's what I want to know. Look, someone says we. Who is we? They're trying to claim Egypt, bro. Angola. Don't forget the Khoisan and Twa people, the original hieroglyphic constructors. What? Look at this crazy shit in the chat. They're claiming that the Khoisan and the Twa people are the original hieroglyphic constructors. They're the ones who created the Egyptian language or the writing, or the script for the language. That's basically what he's claiming. The Khoisan people don't even speak an Afro-Asiatic tongue. Neither do the Twa. These are hunter-gatherer groups. They don't speak Afro-Asiatic languages. The hell is wrong with y'all? These Central African forest hunters forest hunter-gatherers do not speak Afro-Asiatic. So how do you come to that conclusion? You're just looking at black people and say, oh, these must be the ones who did it. Yeah. Look, someone put, I always knew I was Egyptian. Oh, man, this is sad. Look, super wavy. Preach, Shakka, preach. Look, outside the cube, keeping it real. I just pulled one of his sources. It doesn't say what he's saying. That's usually how it goes, man. That's usually how it goes, bro. Look at this, man. Look at all the confusion. This is what you're doing. You're aiding and abetting to confusion and idiocy and stupidity. Kwame says some historians and experts like Sheikh Anta Diop suggest a linguistic and cultural connection between the Wolof language spoken in Senegal and ancient Egyptian. That don't make no damn sense. The Wolof language is a language that falls under the Niger-Congo branch, and the Egyptian language is a language that falls under Afro-Asiatic languages. They come from two different language families. Therefore, one cannot be the cause of the other. It's just that simple. Arguing that Wolof language may be closely related to ancient Egyptian, potentially as close as Coptic. Listen to this nonsense, man. This is what you foster and create and feed over there on this damn coat. At this coat SANETER TV House of Consciousness, Black News 102. This is what you get. But you want to talk down on other people? Man, listen to stuff y'all believe in. Look at this crazy shit. Some scholars and Yoruba people believe there's a connection between the Yoruba people and ancient Egyptians, suggesting potential cultural and linguistic influences. All right, I had enough. This is silly. The Yoruba people are largely West African specific people. They have nothing to do with Northeast Africans, Egyptians, or North Africans. That are on the east. So on the west, they have a small fraction of their DNA that connects them to Ibero-Maurusians, which is Northwest Africans. It had nothing to do with Egyptians, ancient Egyptians, dynastic Egyptians, none of that. The people there have a lot to do with it that live to today. And y'all try to explain them away when their ancestor actually does link up with the people that were there before them. This is madness, man. But real quick, let me just get a source. Let me get a source real quick. Man, I was supposed to come home from work, chill, relax and shit. But then I saw this live stream. I was like, man, let me hurry up and do an emergency broadcast on this bitch ass nigga, like for real. So I'm gonna share my stream. And I'm gonna put up my Kindle. What's going on, Ramal Yahoo? I see you in the building, brother. And I want to just read from this for a second, man. I read from this before. Movement and management of animals in North and West Africa from 1000 BC to AD 1000, right? Now, I was going to discuss times before this, and it basically says there are several possible paths of introduction for domestic species brought into North and West Africa for the early phases, 6 to 6th to the 1st millennium BC. As you see, and we were talking about time periods that are a lot older, right? So the dominant idea is that the translocation of most domestic animals and many domestic plants originated from the Levant. Do y'all see this? Most of this stuff, this is why if I debate one of y'all finally stop being scared and we actually debate on this shit, you getting fucking cooked, because there's no way around this. When we're talking about the origin of Egyptians, we know where they came from. How do we know? The DNA. And then the DNA is corroborating what? The plant, the crop cultivation, and the animal husbandry. Watch. It says the dominant idea. This is the dominant idea in academia. The dominant idea is the translocation of most domestic animals and many domestic plants originated from the Levant, with most species entering Africa first through modern Egypt. That's the dominant idea in academia. And y'all keep going against the narrative because y'all want Sheikh Anta Diop's vision of Egypt to be true, and it's not. These people are myth speakers, myth makers, and cult leaders. That's it. It says these species are then thought to have moved in general east to west, traveling along routes which then branch southward. Either the central Saharan route through Fezzan to Lake Chad, or eastern Niger Bend regions, or south of Morocco to Senegal through Mauritania, or across to the western Niger Bend. The earliest agricultural economies presumably reached large parts of coastal North Africa by sea. Although as far as animal bones are concerned, there's very little actual archaeological evidence for these early stages. Later on, the domestic animal species, possibly the chicken, may also have been introduced through a Mediterranean route, perhaps transported by Phoenician trade networks, and then moved southward oasis by oasis. So I'm gonna skip over to this portion right here. On the next page, these early introductory narratives, sometimes also considered packages or combinations of species moving together into the Sahara, such as cattle, caprines, and possibly dogs, which arrived first in Egypt from the Levant and then spread gradually, reaching the western and eventually southern regions of the African continent. What's going on out the blue? What you got for me, man? What you got for me? In sub-Saharan West Africa, archaeological data for periods preceding the arrival of the first animal domesticates in the second half of 3rd millennium BC, we talking 5,000 years ago, are limited. Animals were moving in the company of people. So if you have animals, pastoralism, again, ancient Egypt, the Nile Valley doesn't get inhabited to 7,000 BCE, 9,000 years ago. And guess what we see? And then those early inhabitants have what? Levantine goats and sheep. Levantine goats and sheep. If you have animals from that region, you need people from that region because they are familiar with those animals. They know how to raise those animals. They know how to breed those animals. They know what to do with them. They have the know-how. Watch this. I'm gonna keep going. It says, let me go to the relevant proportions. It says the movement. Now let's start here. The translocation species. The introduction of domestic species to new areas requires human-driven relocation of animals to unfamiliar environments. So if they're coming from the Levant, you need people from the Levant. This is why when we were able to see the DNA from the Old Kingdom the Old Kingdom mummy, The Old Kingdom mummy, majority of his DNA was Levantine. Majority of it. Why? Because these pastoralists and farmers are coming from the Levant. A veritable host of terminological nomenclature exists to describe this idea, ranging from characterizing it as an activity to process or product, and the usage of terms varies substantially across even within disciplines. So what we see here, in order to have animal domesticates, you need someone to domesticate the goddamn animal. And that person has to come from the region in which they have their origin. Because you have to have some familiarity with that breed. I'm going to read on over here. It says, the movement of domestic species is thus subsumed by the movement of humans. Despite issues of clear relevance and common, such as stress, disease, and environmental requirements, in two archaeological frame papers in which the concept of translocation is explicitly considered, the authors discuss the human-aided movement of domesticates and commensal species, and then either focus on species viewed as exotic rarities or go on to state that they are concerned only with non-domesticated animals. We deal with the papers, man. We deal with the papers. And Blue, if you come on here with Ramsey the Third, and listen, Blue, I will debate you on the origin. I've been trying to find somebody to debate on this. These dudes are, scary berry ass niggas, right? I've been trying to find somebody to debate this. So if you want to debate that, let's get with Craig. We can debate on his channel the origin of ancient Egyptians. Are the people of ancient Egypt Eurasians? All right. So I'm going to let you on in a minute. I'm going to read one more thing. I'm not going to be too long in this book. We got this whole goddamn live to cover. And with you coming on, we're probably not going to be able to. I'm going to just give you an example of this translocation of species. And I do see you there more. I'm just trying to get through this. Just be patient with me for a minute, brother. So we're going to go straight to the caprines, which are sheep and goats. Caprines were spread over land from the Levant to Africa, passing first through Egypt. What did we just read? That the movement of animals is subsumed by the movement of people. You got to have people coming in. Caprines were spread over land from Levant to Africa, passing first through Egypt. The earliest evidence for domesticated sheep and goats dates to the late 7th millennium BC, and several sites across the Egyptian desert are known for 5th millennium BC caprine material, although bone evidence is usually very limited. So again, when we start seeing people inhabit the Nile Valley again, 7,000 years ago, they have sheep and goats. All right, so anyway, I got somebody wanting to come on. I'm gonna let him come on. But we're gonna have to debate this, man. I don't want to, man. Y'all be fugazi. I don't care if you debate Chris Harris, man. You coming on here, you gonna debate me. Here you go. Chris Harris ain't gonna bring no damn DNA. Click that link, man. Click that link. You said you got some questions. I got the link right there. So the book I was reading from while we wait on this brother to get up here. Very good book. As it read, that's the dominant idea in academia. And guess what? You're still gonna have Negroes bucking up against it because it doesn't fit their damn fairy tale narrative. There's the book right here. Mobile Technologies in the Ancient.
I'll be right back, you shoot.
All right, my bad, my bad.
No, you're good. I'll be right back though.
All right, we got out the blue.
Yo, what's good? What you got?
What's going on, man?
Not too much, not too much. Peace, God. The reason I think you might have thought I was actually being facetious. No, I was asking what mummies, because you were saying some of the mummies, and then I was gonna ask which markers were you referring to. But what I was gonna ask you, well, first off, let me say, I'm debating Chris on was Elijah Muhammad right? Are we the Asiatic black man?
Oh, okay. I'm totally different. Okay.
Right. Well, somewhat. The reason why I picked that title is to be clickbaitish. But the really part of my argument is arguing that the E marker came from outside of Africa and conquered Africa. Okay. That's really my argument. And then so what I was getting ready to ask you, so with Yap, right? Mm-hmm. So I know the highest frequencies we see as far as Yap is in Tibet, right?
Outside of Africa.
Outside of Africa.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's that high in Tibet. Because you got to think about the Middle East, Southern Europe. Right. You got to think about that. I don't know if it's as high. And a lot of them are haplogroup D. They're Yap, but they're like they're from the
haplogroup D Yap. Yeah. But the only people that got the Yap is those that come from DE.
Yes.
So
That's
A's and don't have that. So
A,
now,
B. All the other haplogroups don't have it. No.
like, so now we got to figure out. So how the hell? What I'm trying to figure out is, okay. Matter of fact, let me back up. Where would you say DE or originated? Because I'm saying East Asia.
I got it. I believe in what I'm trying to think of. I think what Diatanasio in 2018 said that it could have started in the Himalayas, but I mean, it could have started in Arabia. Could have started. I don't know where it started, but I'm leaning towards the Himalayas. That's what I'm leaning towards because I read that in the papers and it seems to make the most sense.
And
but
then
that's
coming back east, west.
It came back. Yeah, it came west and went through Arabia and the Middle East, which was a different 70,000. We talking 70,000 years ago. It wasn't a desert back then, you know. So they walked. They probably walked through there, and that's when they started going into Arabia and East Africa and North Africa, inhabiting those places again.
So now DE, you saying that? So DE would have been a part of the original migration. One of the original, well, like that second one.
No, a back migration 70,000 years ago. If we saying that it started in the Himalaya, right? If it started in the Himalaya, then it will back migrate into Africa a long time ago. A long time ago.
So now, because what I'm noticing is they got E spread in one direction, but then they got the Bantu languages coming from another direction. How is that possible?
It's possible because when Bantu languages is only 5,000 years old. How old is E? Now you're talking 30, 40, 50,000 years ago. Yeah, there's a big gap. So you're talking about two different time periods. By the time Bantu languages are spoken, Africa is inundated with haplogroup E, South and North. You know what I'm saying?
Now, what you say? What E1B1A is coming from that north of Africa?
I believe
from the Levant area.
No, E1B1A comes from Northwest Africa, Northwest. So like Morocco, Mali, not Morocco, Mauritania, Mali, even southern Algeria, places like that. That's what we're starting to see that E1B1A probably matriculated from. All of the people that have E1B1A in sub-Saharan Africa most likely come from Green Saharans or North Africans.
Right. Because they would have been older. E1B1B is like they showing that 2,000 years older than E1B1A, ain't it? Or a couple of years.
They're relatively the same age. They're around the same age.
Okay.
Yeah, this depends on where. Because now we're talking about deep time, man. We don't have direct evidence for, okay, this haplogroup started here, especially in Africa, because it's hot and humid. It's hard to preserve DNA. But what's believed is that you either get E1B1, which is the father E1B1A and E1B1B about 40, 50,000 years ago, and it possibly could have started in Arabia or East Africa.
Right.
The new evidence is starting to point towards Arabia, man, because we don't know too much about it because it's a dust bowl. You see what I'm saying?
Okay. Let's see. Shout out to the Green Sahara.
Yo, what's up?
What else would I say, man? I would ask. So, as far as the oldest mitochondrial E,
Mitochondrial.
Right, that's East Asian.
Well, if we go to that same paper, and I'll pull it up here in a minute, they believe that L3 came out of Africa and went to haplogroup E to what we talked about earlier, Himalayas, 70,000 years ago, and had daughter lineages, and that's what created haplogroup M and haplogroup N. So, yeah.
Okay. Now would that still have a connection now to Y chromosome E?
No,
Okay.
no, because those daughter lineages started to, pretty much
Get
breed.
mixed out.
Yeah, they go breed with people that have haplogroup F, G, H, I, and then later on O. So most of your Chinese people come back to haplogroup O. So there's no direct correlation between E and M and N.
See, that's the killer part is you get to the people who make up like East Asians and Asia. You don't even get to those haplogroups until you know what I mean later on. Well, like the DNA is moving in, you know what I mean? It's kind of moving about.
It is definitely older. Like haplogroup D is older than I would say haplogroup O or K or S. A lot of those Negritos people try to compare everybody with. Those people, they got their own Eurasian clade. They their own special branch of people, unique branch of people. They have nothing to do with sub-Saharan Africans. But haplogroup D would have been older if that's what you're getting at, right?
Right.
But you also got to think about haplogroup C. A lot of them Australians.
Oh yeah, CT. Yeah.
C. They're haplogroup C. So that's a very old haplogroup that's not Yap. That's been there for about the same amount of time.
So the best way that you would explain, would you say Yap is probably about one of the strongest arguments, along with pastoralism, as for showing the E marker coming into Africa as opposed to its mutation being in Africa?
Well, but see, you're having two different conversations there. When we're talking about Yap, we're talking Stone Age, deep stone, 70,000 years ago. When we're talking pastoralism in Africa, you're talking 9,000 years ago. So it's a huge gap.
Right.
So I would not argue both. You got to argue if you want to say Yap started in Asia, you got to just argue that. You can't mix them. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
And I got a paper on that. Yeah, let me find it real quick. L3.
Yeah, I was fucking with Michael Hammer on it.
Yeah. He was the first one to pretty much discover Yap and then say the origin seems to be Asian. And his reason was this, and it's very simple and very logical. Why do you have Japanese people with this marker, and you got sub-Saharan African people with the marker, the same damn marker? How do they have it? They had to be together at one point. If they had to be together at one point, what was that point? Maybe in the middle. The middle would be
that's what they was thinking. Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, or Tibet, like somewhere between Japan and somewhere in the middle, man. So let me find it. Here it is. Here, Cabrera. That's the paper. VM Cabrera. I'm gonna put it on the screen here. Yeah, but when you was in the comments, I thought you was I thought you was woofing a little bit, man, about what I was bringing out. So.
Yeah, I figured. That's why I was like, let me hit the link, man. I've been actually looking at it, and I think it's a legit. I think, and to me, my opinion has always been, I think the Bible kind of hurts the argument, but I think this is a stronger argument. I think some of the issues is people be trying to attach ham to Haflo. You know what I mean? Like, this is ham Shan.
I've been abandoning that shit. I've been abandoning that shit.
Come on, man. like that I can't do. But it is, as far as the people of that culture, the Israel, I already agreed to that a while back. I think those are stolen. I don't think Beta Israel is lying about their culture. And I think part of the people who suppress them is the people who take over Ethiopia, the Habasha. You know what I mean? And they take it over with Christianity and then suppress the Ethiopian Jews.
Look, check it out. It says here, it is likely that the divergence, the split, right, of Y chromosome D and E haplogroups occurred up to the Himalayas in or westward of the Tibet, which coincides with the hypothetical bifurcation center proposed for mitochondrial DNA L3. So, lamest terms, they believe that D and E split, because at first it was DE, and then they split into the haplogroup D markers and E markers around the Himalayas. And they also believe the L3 marker split into the the two daughter branches M and N around the Himalayas. That's what this paper is saying. So that's what I think happened. I mean, it happened 70,000 years ago. I think it's a good explanation for it, seeing that we see on both sides of the Himalaya, we see Yap markers on one side and Yap markers on the other side.
I think it's where to split.
But that's all we got right now. We just got an explanation. So, hopefully we'll find some more evidence in the upcoming years. You know what I mean?
Right.
But you can argue. I would argue this. I wouldn't argue no pastoral. That's later, bro. That's now you're talking about within the Holocene, within the last 10,000 years.
Well, the reason why I wouldn't argue it like that, but I think that you also see a culture that kind of follows. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't see that culture of pastoralism amongst A and B until E comes into the equation.
That's true. That is true.
It's like some of that kind of the tool making, that kind of follows them in, because then it makes sense of why when you get to West Africa, the iron smelting, and now using metal and shit for farming.
Yeah, but here's the explanation for that. The jury's still out to lunch on how the West Africans get iron smelting, but I think it's it makes sense because they come from the Green Sahara, and within the Green Sahara, they would have been, what's the word? They would have witnessed that technology because there was a lot of groups in the Sahara, right? There was people from North Africa there. So people that we now consider sub-Saharan Africa, they was all in the Sahara at one point. People from Europe, all of them. So they would have been witnessing certain technology. They picked up iron smelt. Well, not iron smelting, but the ability to smelt. Period. Smelt metal.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. And just kind of built off of that.
Right. So I mean,
and then what about the agriculture part though?
Same thing. They were farming. They were farming in the Sahara, and then you see the farming go down. You can see them moving as the desert grows, right? Because the Green Sahara starts to become a desert around 5,000 years, and it grows and grows and grows, and the Green Sahara begins to shrink, and you can see them leaving the desert, and that's how most sub-Saharan African ancestors on the west side got to Nigeria, got to Ghana, Senegal, Benin, Togo, the Ivory Coast. A lot of those places were not even inhabited during the Green Sahara. You follow me? But we see the agriculture, we see the crops, we see all that moving down south. That's why when these people say, "Oh, we ancient Egyptians," no, we not. We know where we came from. We came from Northwest Africa, around Morocco, the Western Sahara, Mali and Mauritania, and southern Algeria.
You think that's where we would damn, my fault. Like, what around what area do you think we split from E1B1B?
I told you earlier, it's believed it's East Africa is the main idea, but it's Arabia is starting to be the designation. So
one would have went kind of southwest. The other one went like northwest.
Yep. One went north, stayed northeast. Some went out in the Middle East. Some went northwest. I'm talking about E1B1B. E1B1A seems to kind of go west and stay there and go south for the most part. We're not speaking of absolutes. Of course, you're gonna have certain branches that go out like E1B1A2. That shit is in Ethiopia and Arabia. So you brought up Ramesses III. Ramesses III could be one of those old E1B1A markers that never left, that stayed on that side.
Yeah, you got Ramses, but then the Ramses the first is more than likely a Hyksos.
But see, that's the thing. Ramesses did not get his name because he descended from Ramesses II.
Right.
That's not his father.
Yeah, I think the closest he is to, I think he might have had some relation to Ramses II. I think they were saying that might have been like his uncle or something, maybe.
Yeah. It's not like a father to son relationship.
Yeah, it's more situational with them.
Yeah.
But I think but they don't have, I don't think they got Ramses the first DNA.
No, they don't.
But
they don't even have the Ramses II's DNA. Just got Ramses III.
Right. Yeah. But I would probably lean towards him being probably E1B1B more than likely.
Yeah.
It probably was between them two, E1B1A and E1B1B in that region.
Right. For now, he's E1B1A. But people think that means that Egypt was full of West Africa. No, it wasn't. You got certain E1B1A samples that living people that live in Egypt to this day. They got their own particular branch of E1B1A that we don't even see in Nigeria, Ghana. We don't see it in West Africa. They got their own particular branch that date back 6,000 years ago. So obviously, this group of E1B1A carriers stayed north or stayed in the east. They just stayed. They never left. They stayed over there so long they developed their own mutations. That's only exclusive to them. You know what I'm saying? They kept having kids to today. And now they're part of the Bedouin population in Egypt. They're a minority though. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Especially there,
Yeah. So all that shit that what's his name? Shakka almost talking about, that shit been debunked, man. Africa is upside down. What else he was saying? All type of crazy shit. Crazy shit.
We gotta stop with that shit, man. I thought we was past that.
No, we still there.
I said most of the niggas ain't even Africa. That's the worst part. It's like most of you niggas is ops to Africa.
Right. That's why I was trying to tell niggas, like, bro, y'all woofing this damn African shit. But I guarantee you, bro, especially them niggas in the north, they take a DNA test, they might find out their ass go back to Scotland or some shit.
Man.
And if it's about their ancestors, y'all talking about venerate my ancestors. Okay, so now let's start learning about Scottish history. You know what I'm saying? Bagpipes and Haggadah and all that other shit, nigga. You need to follow your ancestors, remember?
Niggas don't even want to know. I'm telling you. The last thing they want to do.
Facts.
That's why it's like, and that's the point too of my debate is I don't think we in no position to tell people what they can and can't be. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, it's niggas that want to be abos. I don't think that shit really hurt what we trying to do overall. We just got to make sure we standing on principles that even when we go into war beefing with each other or debating, it ain't tearing down the overall foundation of what we building. You know what I mean? And a lot of times niggas can't get over that shit, bro.
Man, this is why I tell anybody that got these identity claims, man. You got an identity claim, go take a damn DNA test, man. If you saying you a Native American, I want to see your goddamn results, man. It better say Native American. It better say haplogroup Q or some shit, or haplogroup A. Like Morges was on here. His mother is a Native American. His mother line is Native American. He haplogroup A. So we got to see that on your DNA. If we don't see it on your DNA, shut the fuck up, bro. Like, move on. Move on with life. It ain't all that what it is cracked up to be anyway. Whatever your DNA test say, bro. And that's it. Y'all got a hard time dealing with reality, man. A lot of these niggas live in cartoon fantasy world, bro.
It's tough though, because I think they went back. If I ain't mistaken, I think if I'm mistaken, the Olmecs, I think they had the Olmecs as E1B1A.
No, the Olmecs are not E1B1A. What niggas do on the internet is they make these claims. The Olmecs would have been haplogroup Q. The Mayans, Aztecs, all of them would have been primarily haplogroup Q. The only other male haplogroup in the Americas is haplogroup C. And I've been trying to debate one of these abo niggas, aboriginal power and all that shit. I've been trying to debate one of them, man, but I can't catch one of them slipping.
No, the album, yeah. It's interesting. Yeah, because I think you get mitochondrial actually over this way. Nah, I think that's what I messed up with that.
Nah, they only
the
got
Omex was yeah, they had mitochondrial E.
No, they don't even have that. They got A, B, C, and D, and X. E1, B1, the female version, E1A1A. It's East Asian. It's East Asian, but it ain't in the Americas. But it is in East Asia. So you do got some black women that have mitochondrial E1A1. We knew one. And that means her ancestors probably came from Madagascar, because Madagascar has a long history of interacting with Asians. So that could be that. Or, her mother came over here during the railroad construction. A lot of Asians came to the Americas in the 19th century looking for work, and they put them to work on the railroads. And some of them interacted with black people. You see what I'm saying? So they started getting together, One thing led to another. Now you got descendants of people that came from China, Tibet, Cambodia, most of those, those East Asian localities, So some black people had that, they go take their DNA test and they get surprised. I'm gonna tell you one right now. The Wayne brothers took their DNA test, found out they had a Chinese haplogroup. You see what I'm saying? Haplogroup. Oh, they had it. All the Wayne brothers. And people like, oh, it do make sense. They do got the, the eyes and shit. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah.
But
that's crazy.
That's why you can't judge nobody just on how they look, because at the end of the day, they might go take a DNA test and it might say something that you would have never thought of, right? So that's my whole thing.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now. It couldn't have been the Olmecs. I gotta see. I gotta go back and look, because it was some shit I was reading that actually had really nothing to do with my debate. I was just reading this shit, and I was like, that's odd. I'm gonna have to go back though and see what the fuck they was talking about. Let's see. Yeah, it's a lot of stuff, man. I mean, but I think though, I think the DNA though is it kind of kills the African talk.
Yeah, it really does.
That's the definitely. It's like, I mean, you nigga, we invaded that shit, bro. It's gonna be real. Like,
yeah,
there ain't even no way to get around that shit.
And the argument for that is that the reason why that almost all Africans have Neanderthal genes is because of what you just said. They believe it happened when them old E markers and stuff back migrated into Africa. They believe that's when it happened. They introduced Neanderthal genes into Africa. That's one of the theories. So if I was debating that, that's the angle I would take. Like I said, I wouldn't go recent years. I would go all the ancient stuff,
Poly, and then I mean not Poly, Yap.
Yeah.
And,
The origin of Yap. What's the title again? I forgot the title. Afro-Asia. What'd you say?
The Asiatic black man, which would basically make you Afro. It's the same.
Oh, the Asian. So basically, you argue an Asian origin. So yeah, I would argue Yap started in. Then I guess he would argue the opposite. So you gotta be ready for that counter argument.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I don't think Chris really is a good debater, but that's neither here nor there. But we'll see. When are y'all debating?
We debate on the 26th.
On Solar Mind?
Yeah, on Solars. Yeah, we done crunk back up the tournament. Well, right now it's the tournament and shit. A little $200 tournament. And then
that's a Saturday. That's a Saturday.
Yeah. So yeah, that'll be that day then. Yeah, the 26th. For sure, Saturday. Yeah, I'm gonna make sure this gonna be one. It's different because I think he prepared to argue against the Israelite argument.
Wait, what? What they got?
You know what I mean? Like as far as like DNA wise, like I think he prepared for me to turn haplogroup D into, Japheth or something. I don't think he really prepared for like just the conversation.
That nigga don't know no damn. Now his nigga Mel, that nigga Mel, if they still cool, he do. He know a little bit about genetics, but that nigga Chris ain't known for no damn DNA. When the last time Chris talked about DNA? Anybody in the chat heard this nigga talk about DNA? You know what I'm saying? I never heard no shit like that from.
Yeah, he gonna be ready though. If Mel is on the team, he'll be ready by the time the debate is there.
Yeah. If Mel's there, Mel watch my channel all the time. So I mean, he know Mel is familiar with genetics. I don't know Chris. I ain't never heard Chris talk about no damn DNA. You know, I'm just keeping it funky with you. So I don't even think his whole argument gonna be based on DNA. Or maybe he'll surprise us. Maybe we need to mark on our calendars April 26th. What time is it? What time y'all debating?
Prime time. So it should be like 8 o'clock Eastern.
8 o'clock Eastern. So 7 o'clock my time. Okay. 7 o'clock. So we're gonna see what the hell this nigga do. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna watch him. I just remember him running from old boy. I mean, quitting in the middle of the debate. The pastor. How the fuck you quit against a pastor? then Tyrannosaurus Duck beat the nigga so bad he threw his trophies away. I know you remember that shit. He threw his trophies in the garbage. Yeah, you laugh. You remember that shit. That's fucking ridiculous. Motherfucker denounced everything that night.
I'm sure, man. See, yeah, now Mel, that's where it could be difficult. I gotta make sure, But I'm gonna be ready though. I'm gonna be ready. I mean, most of my argument is I'm using some pseudo aspects. I'm definitely not gonna shy away from that.
Oh, brother, oh man, he gonna put you in a headlock on those, man. Whatever you got pseudo, you need to argue that shit.
I mean, to an extent, it's like, I mean, not necessarily. I mean, because with Elijah Muhammad.
Oh no, don't bring Elijah Muhammad, bro. Oh man, I think we lost him, but I think he was.
My fault.
I think you alluded to using Elijah Muhammad, bro. Don't use no damn Elijah Muhammad, man. It's like using Rudolph Windsor or something.
I mean, that's the origin, though. He said that we came from East Asia, and then it came into Africa.
I know, but sometimes the sun shine on the dog's ass is what we say. A clock is right twice a day. We say you got these sayings like that.
That's the only reason why I used the title, because I was like, damn, technically he said that. So I was like, that's good. I could use that title and then prove it.
Noble Drew Ali said it. W. Du Bois said this. I get they said it, man, but we don't need to use those guys because they were just throwing shit at the wall at that time, bro. Now we got something a little more,
Finite.
Finite. Thank you. I wouldn't even go that route because he's gonna put you in a chokehold. He's gonna harp and hyper focus on. He's using Elijah Muhammad. Bro, don't do that shit, man. What the fuck? Hell no.
But I'm gonna tell you though, I only reason why is because when I go to ask a question, I know how to simplify that shit so much. Cause I'm gonna simplify the DNA and I'm not gonna make that shit rocket science. I'm finna make that shit apples and oranges.
Yeah.
Very simple. That's just like even when you go in there, like you could say the split of E1B1A and E1B1B. You could righteously go into Esau and Jacob with that shit, bro.
Oh man, you gonna cook you if you do that.
You could. He could do it. I might take a debate on that though.
No, don't take that debate, man. You trying to win the tournament, man. No.
I don't think it could be disproved.
Listen to me, bro. I'm not even in your tournament. I had no dog in the fight. Don't argue that shit, my nigga. The mother niggas will tell you to do it because they trying to get a win.
You think they can disprove that?
Listen, I don't know the level and strength of the debaters over there, but I will say this: that is an easily dismissible claim. Easy. If you just know a little bit about time and chronology.
Well, yeah. The timing. I mean, but timing, technically though, the timing is you got a range on timing.
Bruh, don't argue
You
this.
got it.
Please don't argue. Please. Oh my God. Who are you trying to argue with? Who you like Jesus minister or some shit? You can
What
get away.
time? What time is we putting Jacob and Esau? What time period?
And probably 1700 BCE is probably the max, somewhere around there. E1 BCE 40,000 years old, bro. Like, don't do that to yourself. They're gonna cook you for 3 rounds just on time alone. Then y'all still do the Shakka butt? What's it called?
The Shakka butt. Yeah. Yeah, that's where I'm gonna die at. Solar.
Yeah, man. You ran easy off of here with that shit, man. He left.
That's exactly where Solar goes.
Oh, hell no.
He go whip the Bible straight out. Okay, I noticed you ain't opened the Bible the whole debate.
Yeah, man. Bro.
No,
just stick with the Yap argument. If you want to say, oh, well, we do originate from Asian.
He says, yeah.
Right here, boom, man. Don't. Elijah Muhammad, that's a no-go. Esau, and a no-go. Like, man, you giving him the debate when you do shit like that. Noble Drew Ali. Oh, hell no.
Nah, but that's just but that is how I'm gonna start out though, as far as just that simple. I ain't gonna go into details because I ain't gonna the title is clear. Are we the Asiatic black? We ain't going no further into whether he said Yaakov existed and the mad science shit and all of that. We ain't going none of that.
Continue to that. That's what I'm saying, bro. Just stick
no, I ain't gonna let him do that.
Bro, it's new papers, it's new evidence. E1B1 coming from Arabia. Like, just stick to that shit. Don't fucking don't do it to yourself, man.
Yeah, it's a lot of shit. I mean, you could go 2000, and I think I got stuff, man. 2018, 2008, 2005. Like, I definitely got a lot of articles, bro. That shit, DNA wise. I mean, but that's just one part. You know what I'm saying? It's the strong part of my argument, but that is definitely one part.
Yeah, make it where he Listen, bro, make it where he got to fight you in that. He gonna have the African origin, which there are papers that say that, but even in the African, I'll give you the sauce right now. Even in the paper that proposes an African origin, it tells you the most feasible origin for Yap is Asia. It says in that paper. So
the most basal, even, and it's gonna go into the basal, man. Once we get into the most basal findings, Yap and that's where it's going. It gets very interesting.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what happens in that debate. Because if you go up there with DNA and you punch him with DNA and he go up there talking about the idea came from pseudos, you should win that. I don't know how y'all judging structure go.
Yeah, you got to be on subject.
Yeah,
like what the privilege? Because we turned it into privilege. I'm the affirmative, so he got to argue against what
What you're saying, yeah. Because yeah.
I mean, as long as of course, my shit got to be. It got to be a good, solid argument. That's why I'm like, I got 3 solid points. I feel like culture, DNA, and the mythos. Culture, DNA, and the mythos.
Man, you playing with fire.
The people say it too.
They do. Man. Do what you want to, bro.
I think you play with fire if you don't have the DNA.
True.
You know what I'm saying?
Tie it to the DNA. I see what you're saying.
Right.
Tie it to the DNA.
Because the DNA is the foundation. Now it's like, okay, boom. Now you got this that happened. You got that happened.
Right.
You could put Ramses all the way up. Be all the way over there. Then you could start picking. You could start picking further back for real. But I'm gonna push him. He gonna leave, regardless of it. Whether he give me East Asia or he give me Saudi Arabia, I'm gonna move him off of East Africa.
Yeah,
that's my main focus. Yeah,
he gonna have to argue for East Africa. That's not what he should do. I don't know what he's gonna do, but that's what he should do. You were a champion of Solomon, right? You were what, 2-time champion?
Well, I lost to the championship last season. Rio beat me out.
No, but I thought you were a champion. You won a championship.
No, I won the rapid fire king. I was the rapid fire champion. Like I think 2 years and some other shit.
Rob Rack won, and then you won. Rob Rack used to win all the time, and then you came behind him and won. That's what I thought it was. And then Chris
see the year. So the first year Rob won, Yara knocked me out in the first round in the playoffs. Then the next year, Swab, I lost to Swab like 2 in the second round. Then the third year, Yara knocked me out one round before the championship again. Yara fucked me over a few times, bro. Yara got me a few times. And it's only because I fucked up with one word, bro. One word. Well, I used Josephus to prove that 70 AD didn't happen. I was using it. I only pulled it out to show a discrepancy. And he just turned it against me, and I ain't had no. It was up by the time he got done.
That's what Chris gonna do with you when you bring up Elijah Muhammad.
Nah. That was like at that time, what Yara did to me, he couldn't do that now. I wasn't firm enough. Like when I used it, I wasn't firm enough either. Like. So I allowed him to do that, to dictate why I brought out I know why I brought out the damn why I brought out the source. I let Yara dictate why I brought out the source. That'll never happen again. Like
It's my shit. Like, no,
Right.
nah, I control the debate in the narrative, especially in the rapid. That's why I got the rapid fire championship. Once we going back and forth, that's where you dead, because you're gonna talk yourself into a hole. And then from there, I'm just keeping it simple, apples and oranges.
Yeah. So that's what I thought. I heard you was a champion, so I guess that's what you're talking about, the rapid fire.
Yeah, I'm a rapid fire champion. Once we start asking each other questions, and I'm asking you questions, that's where this game over. That's usually when I pull away.
Then Chris Harris was the last champion before they disbanded.
Right,
so,
right.
He lost to Tyrannosaurus Duck, right? So that means Duck was the champion.
Well, nah, he lost to Duck before the playoffs. He lost to him in the regular season. Duck choked in the playoffs, though. he choked in the playoffs. He choked when it counted. I was like, oh, brother.
So who won that one? Who won that?
Chris won that one. Yeah. Hold on. No. That one.
That's a new champion.
No. Yeah, that's a new. Anonymous won that one. Yeah.
89 won. Yeah, that was the year 89 won.
89.
Because
that was a close debate, too.
Who he debated again?
Taz.
Yeah.
That was close, man.
I forgot about all that shit, man. I forgot how it went. But yeah, man. I just remember Crybaby left the middle of the debate. I ain't never seen no shit like that in my life, man. Motherfucker just left the debate.
Man.
And then blamed it on his wife or some shit. Like, oh, my wife is leaving me. The fuck out of here, dude. You obligated, bro. You in the middle of you didn't like getting your ass whooped. Nigga, this is a terrible argument to go up there and say, oh, it's written by white folks because it's written in Greek. That's what that nigga was saying, man. That's a terrible fucking argument.
I think a lot of us, though, man, kind of underappreciated that shit, the league and shit. I think motherfuckers is everybody starving down. Everybody back. Everybody back.
Lance told me.
Yeah, it's over with, man. That's what I'm like.
So Rob Rat? What about
Rob ain't back?
Oh yeah. So y'all ain't got the old niggas.
Nah, Rob ain't coming back. But as far as Lex, I ain't talked to Lex. I ain't seen him in a minute. He'll probably be back in the mix sooner or later.
Yeah. I've been wanting to chop his head off, man. He's running, bro.
Yeah, I know he listening though. He gonna cook me on his Asiatic shit. But he know that's the dark side, man.
Yeah, I want to debate, man. But every time the opportunity is presented, the nigga fucking, you know what I'm saying? Nigga duck this taco.
I mean, we gonna talk. I'm gonna have the discussion. We ain't talked about it. You know what I'm saying? I haven't. He ain't been online. I kind of really just came to the epiphany like recently. So, but like I said, man, we ain't with the the doctrines and all of that shit, bro. We just trying to whatever the truth is. You know what I mean? If it's the truth, it's the truth. And right now, the truth is, nigga, that E-marker conquered Africa. That's the truth. You colonized it. You brought you domesticated the animals. All kind of shit.
Right. Yeah.
Changed the languages.
No, that's a fact, bro. That is a fact, man. Eliminated groups. Eliminated
Eliminated them. It's only you down to what, like the Bushmen, the San, and the Khoi people probably.
Yeah, and push them down. Like, see, there's a lot of people don't understand. Like, a lot of those people, they would have been distributed across Africa. Now they not. They like concealed into certain pockets. Like the Khoisan is like down south, real south. They stuck over there. And then you got the Central Forest hunter gatherers. They just, in Central Africa and the goddamn forests and shit, they got ran off into these regions. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's sad, but it is. Yeah. It is what it is, bro.
You can see the story when you get to Rwanda. Rwanda tell you exactly what the hell happened. If you look at the origin of Rwanda, when pastoralism entered Rwanda, that came from a whole nother people.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Them people came into Rwanda. I think it was the Tutsis. When they entered, the Hutus was, I think I might have it in reverse, whoever was native there.
Right.
It was the Tutsis though, right? That was out, that came from outside.
I don't know what tribe it is, but I'm going to tell you this. It's evident that East Africans, this goes with this Egyptian shit, that East Africans pushed down south. These farmers, they pushed down south. They were more up north. They was in the Horn. They was up north in Sudan. They pushed down south, and they pushed Khoisan people down south as they were pushing. So what you're referencing, you can see it in their DNA. They're getting this DNA from these damn East Africans coming down and pushing their ass. So, I mean, and they got Eurasian DNA. That's the DNA I'm talking about. They got Eurasian DNA with them because of the East African hunter-gatherers. I mean, the farmers coming down.
Yep, pushing the hunter-gatherers.
Yeah, pushing them down.
It's
a cruel world in Africa, man. Niggas always want to talk about white people did here. It's a very cruel world on the continent, man.
Really. It really is.
But yeah, man. Let me get back into the video though. Let me see if I can.
Oh yeah. Do that. Let me listen.
All right, G.
All right.
Pop this back up. All right. So before that, I was bringing up animal husbandry and where these people came from, right? And I brought out the source, for me and brother out the blue dialogue, and had our back and forth about the information. And his upcoming debate support out the blue, and go watch his debate when it come out on the 26th, 7 p.m. Central Time Standard Time on Solar Minds channel. But yeah, man, what I was bringing all that information out was just to show the silliness of this argument of trying to say sub-Saharan African people are the same as Egyptians, or the Egyptians are connected to West Africans. It's just a bunch of ridiculousness, man.
Be admitted as foreigners. So if Muslims are only admitted as foreigners in this Jewish enclave in the Sahara in North Africa in the 6th century, right? What does that tell you? It tells you that Jews were running the whole area, because Muslims were only admitted as foreigners. A letter sent by Marrakesh merchant named
What? And I have this book, by the way. But what? Did y'all hear that dumb shit? That Jews ran the whole area because Muslims were not? Like, bro, you forgot about the fucking Berbers? You forgot about the Tuareg? They were there. Anyway. Pseudo shit. And where does it say that Jews ran this area? It says an influx of Jews built the Khazar fortified hamlet of Tamatit, the principal settlement in the region, and made it into an autonomous enclave to which Muslims were only admitted as foreigners. That's only discussing this one little place, this fortified hamlet. This is not talking about North Africa. Bro, reading comprehension skills. Niggas don't have reading comprehension skills. Just think what he just read says an influx of Jews built the fortified hamlet of Tamatit, the principal settlement in the region. So in this settlement of the region, this is the subject of this paragraph. See, we got to understand what a subject is, right? It says, and made it into an autonomous enclave. What did they make it to an autonomous enclave? The fortified hamlet, man. This settlement right here, to which Muslims were only admitted as foreigners. So this one region, this little settlement, Muslims were only admitted as foreigners. The power of reading and comprehension. What the fuck was this dude talking about? Let me rewind it and make sure I'm not getting him misconstrued, man. Because what it came out sounding like, man, just sounded like a bunch of utter confusion. Let me see.
Yeah, I didn't say this. Oh, Shakka, you never said that. I never heard that. And I'm like, no, it's because you don't pay attention. You're the worst student in the classroom. Watch. Jews arrived in the region at the beginning of the Common Era. That means 1st century CE. At the beginning of the Common Era, Jews arrived in North Africa. At the top, in what they call it? An oasis? Hold on, where is it? I want to get the correct term that they use. Right here. It's an oasis region in southwestern Algeria. Okay? And Jews got there in the 1st century of the Common Era. The Arabs add that in the year 570, this is 6th century, known as the Year of the Elephant in Arabic historiography, an influx of Jews built, this is the 6th century, built the curved fortified hamlet of Tamantit, right? The principal settlement in the region, and made it into an autonomous enclave to which Muslims were only admitted as foreigners. So if Muslims were only admitted as foreigners in this Jewish enclave in the Sahara in North Africa in the 6th century, right? What does that tell you? It tells you that Jews were running the whole area because Muslims...
No. I was right. He's reading this completely wrong. It means Jews is running that little enclave, that little fortified hamlet, and there the Muslims were only admitted as foreigners. My God, you can't read. You suck at reading and comprehending, man. Oh my God. I knew it. I was like, man, did he just say what I think he just? Oh, my idiocy. And look at the comments. Somebody put the Israelites came to the Americas with the Hiscos. Even the Apache had the crowns of Kemet. This is the pseudo crowd that exists and is being aided and abated by SANETER's guests and host. Come on, bro. We got to do better.
Were only admitted as foreigners. A letter sent by Marrakesh merchant named Ishaq ibn Ibrahim al-Tuatito, a correspondent in Fustat dated 12th and 13th century and preserved in the Cairo Geniza, is another piece of evidence for a Jewish presence in Tuat in the Middle Ages. The Jews of Tuat, now listen to this, the Jews of Tuat engaged in agriculture using a highly developed system of fogatas, underground water conduits. Who do you think showed them where the underground water conduits were? They were also active. Are you listening to this? Are you listening to this, SANETER?
I'm right here, brother. I hear every word you're saying.
Jews were also active in the trans-Saharan caravan trade, and the region prospered, becoming so important a hub for the gold, slave, and salt trades that Tamantit was mentioned in the Majorca atlases and maps as early as the 14th century. Now, here's the thing. These people had the same technology in the 14th century, the Middle Ages, right? 8th, 9th, 10th century, and the 1st century CE. It was the same technology that the Africans were using during the Bronze Age. There was no different form of travel. So how come you got Jews who have a trans-Saharan trade all through the Saharan, but the Africans, the black Africans who've been at this forever, they want to tell you that they were stuck over here and couldn't get to Egypt because of the Sahara. But you get Jews that come from another land and all of a sudden they got a trans-Saharan trade. Does that make sense to you?
Hell no, that don't make sense.
Of course not. It don't make no sense. So the story is stupid. The whole story is stupid. Jews arrived at the region at the beginning of the Common Era. So the whole story about black people in West Africa being stuck on the side of the Sahara because they couldn't make it to Egypt.
No, that's not the argument. No one's arguing that black people in sub-Saharan Africa could not make it to Egypt. I'm pretty sure there was some that traveled to Egypt. The argument is this, that the ancient Egyptians were sub-Saharan African. That's what y'all claiming. You're trying to run away from that argument, trying to say, oh, they're trying to argue against the mobility. Now, there are some people that are arguing against the mobility of sub-Saharan Africans. That element does exist, but you're trying to run away from your pseudo-ass claim that ancient Egyptians were primarily like related to West Africans, which will make them sub-Saharan African. They're not fucking sub-Saharan African. Were there some Substratum of sub-Saharan Africans in Egypt? Sure. We've seen in the ancient samples that they had a small segment of their DNA, 5 to 15% sub-Saharan African. Sure. They were there at a very small fraction. But to sit up here and act like all these damn dynasties were inundated and completely replete with sub-Saharan Africans, that's when the pseudo comes in. That's when the pseudo comes in. Yes, there were people dotting around the Sahara, creating oasis communities. We've done shows about it. The Garamantes are a big example of this. Going up and down. The Tuaregs are a great example of this. The Berbers, you have EM78 in North Africa, which is E1B1B. You have it in North Africa, you have it in Morocco, and you also have it in Ghana. Unless you know these people going back and back. The Soninke people, another product of people going back and forth from the south and north. We understand that. But your argument is that these people are connected to West African people in general, that they're sub-Saharan African, which there's no fucking geneticist that's worth its salt that will even say some shit like that. Anyway.
Because of the Sahara, it's stupid. When you got Jews, they got a whole freaking trade. That's not profanity. You got Jews that got a whole freaking trade throughout the Sahara. And it's documented. It's documented. So I just wanted to show that part. That their whole thing is stupid. So now let's get to your question. Right? This is probably what I mentioned to you before. SANETER, can you see this?
Yes. What is my question?
Your question was original question was the connection between the migrations from Egypt.
Okay, I got you. Just want to make sure you know. Go ahead.
Right. So with respect to the migrations from Egypt to before I even go into that, let me just go back to why I started this conversation. When you get into that information, you can pull out a lot of information. But you have to be careful because a lot of the information, number one, is so-called outdated. But why is it outdated? It's outdated because the deeper you get, you're going to find that information about that is scarce. There's not a lot of it. But it's not by accident that there's not a lot of it. It's on purpose. I'm saying that wherever they did find evidence of these migrations of people from Kemet to Egypt into other parts of Africa, they destroyed that evidence. They usually destroyed it through two ways: through water, building dams, or through fire, burning unearthed caches. Right? So they destroyed that evidence. They destroyed that evidence to create the myth of an isolated Egypt. And this is part of the reason why when you
I told y'all, all y'all suits, y'all know y'all don't have evidence for the shit y'all say. So the next step is create a conspiracy. Say that the white man came and destroyed all the evidence. Created these dams, not for practical uses, not to redirect water, but to destroy evidence showing that there's a connection between West Africans and Egyptians. Wasting all type of money and resources to, to fund this intricate plot against West Africans connecting with Egyptians. This is silly shit. Or set all the evidence on fire. This is the level of mendacity that exists on SANETER's channel. Look at this shit. Hold on. Now, this is what he did, bro. Just type into Google, appeal to conspiracy fallacy, and y'all gonna tell you this. The appeal to conspiracy fallacy, also known as a conspiracy theory fallacy, is a logical fallacy where a claim is presented as true because it suggested that a powerful group is secretly hiding or manipulating evidence to cover it up. That's exactly what this dude does. When these niggas can't prove it, they always say the conspiracy, the Illuminati did it, the Jews did it, the Egyptian government, the Arab nation of Egypt did it. Because they don't want y'all to know that all the black men and black boys and black women and black girls to know that they're royalty. That's what y'all say. This is the idiocy. Nigga, you can't prove your point. And since you can't prove your point, now you got to blame an external force coming down and destroying the goddamn evidence that you don't have. Silly shit. Silly shit. I know that sounds like silly shit. That's rewind that and show you what I really meant. Shout out to Sue Sir.
You go into the when you start looking into the literature and you start trying to find literature about African migration into West Africa, African migration to other parts, it's there, but there's not a lot of it. And a lot of it you have to piece together. It can be pieced together very well, whether you're talking about genetics, whether you're talking about whatever, cultural anthropology, all of it. Thank you, Smoker Chill. I appreciate that. Right? But now we're going to look at some documentation. I just wanted to make that very clear that the reason that there's not a lot or an abundance of literature on that particular topic is because it's by design. The same way that they built the Aswan Dam and destroyed all of that history in Nubia. And that's another thing. Don't ever let people forget that all of the evidence, or not all of it, but a large reservoir of evidence that attest to the true African origins of Kemet are underneath the Aswan Lake Nasser, and which was created by the Aswan Dam. They did that as part of that isolation process to isolate Egypt, to make it seem as if Egypt had more to do with the Near East.
Oh, it's a conspiracy. Let's read this real quick. Same book we read earlier. Right. We gonna close this, bro. Yeah, we not even Nubian. They want to connect. We not Nubians. Like, oh my God, nigga, stop looking for black people around the world and saying that we're them. Like, you guys stop it. It's 2020 motherfucking 5, bro. Like, come on, man. It's time to move on, bro. It's time to grow up, take the training wheels off, and start riding the big boy bike. All right, so this is let me close my table of contents. Mobile technology in ancient Sahara and beyond. Trans-Saharan archaeology. The role of the Nile Valley. So the question that was asked about, trying to connect West Africans or whatever, or why Egypt doesn't have this role, he says it's because these people the powers that be came down and said, you know what, we're going to spend money and resources on creating this dam to make it look like that Egypt is isolated and doesn't deal with fuck with you niggas. Layman's term, don't fuck with you other niggas. That's basically what he said. When he was Keynes, right? That basically the government is involved, the Illuminati is involved, the Jews involved, everybody's involved because they don't want black people to realize that they come from royalty, even though majority of Egyptians were pretty much peasants, right? You always point to the royal or the top 1% of the motherfuckers, the priesthood and everything. Yeah, they live good. Everybody else got buried in saying they live terrible lives. They lived what's that word? Egypt was imperialistic. But anyway, it was very top heavy, very, very top heavy. The role of the Nile Valley. Okay, another critical point to be examined is the role played by Egypt in the entire process under examination. In rather simplified terms, we could ask 2 questions. The first question is, why did Egypt not exert into the Sahara the same positive effects exercised by Mesopotamia in the Arabian Peninsula? To my mind, the reason is that Western Asia was characterized by the coexistence and close contact of a plurality of ethnic groups, languages, and cultures, and also by plurality of landscapes and subsequent ways of life, merging one into the other, an ideal condition for cultural cross-fertilization. On the contrary, Egypt was much more self-contained and unitary. In the Nile Valley, the border between the desert and zone is neat, without an intermediate belt. It has been said that you can stand with one foot in the desert and the other in the zone. Moreover, Egypt conceived the foreign peoples and foreign cultural elements as too inferior to be much interested in interacting with them. On a previous occasion, I suggested a contraposition between the economic and technological strategy of Egypt based on the intensification versus that of greater Mesopotamia. based on extensification. In cultural terms, extensification means contacts and interrelation, while intensification means self-sufficiency. So basically, these people, when they set up their kingdom, they became very, very insular. They did very interdependent on themselves. They didn't branch out like that. That's basically what it's saying. So this is why we don't see it. We don't need to invoke conspiracies and like that. It's just, the mind frame that these people had back then. No, it didn't have anything to do with race. You could be black as hell or white as hell. As long as you're in the land, you're an Egyptian. That's how they looked at it. It says the second question is, why did the presence of Egypt situated in the middle of the east-west corridor for the transfer of innovations play a role in delaying a process rather than stimulating it? No doubt, Egypt extended several features of its own culture in the great oasis of the Western Desert and played a major role in shaping their political organization. Egypt also organized and used the sequence of the Western Oasis in establishing a major trade route towards the south, a privileged direction leading to the sources of various important resources. The same did not apply to the direct line to the west, which was a properly empty and irrelevant area. In fact, the desert between the Egyptian oasis and Fadhan comprised one of the most impassable extents of sand of the entire Sahara and did not encourage transit. So basically, the desert's there. That's just a simple, in layman's terms, simple terms. The desert's there. They don't feel like making that trek, going through it. And he's like, no, that's not good enough. It has to be some outside force coming in play and doing foul play. Well, I mean, that's what the evidence, we can extrapolate from the evidence that that's most likely the reason they didn't go westward. Maybe because there's a big ass desert right there, you motherfucker. You dumb son of a bitch. Oh my God. I'm getting a headache. I'm getting a fucking headache. Oh, but there's oasis communities. Yes, there are certain communities that became oasis communities, like the Garamantes. The Egyptians were not one of them. Anyway, they rather just deal with the now and deal with that. They didn't, there's no evidence of them expanding out like that. It says, but apart from this technical reason, I think cultural reasons prove more important, so that the process of east to west technological transfer was hampered not by the Libyan desert, but by the Nile Valley. And I was just saying that. The technologies under considerations were totally alien to and unusable in a valley dominated by a great river and its seasonal floods. Consequently, the Great Valley acted as sort of a barrier, interrupting and delaying the westward flow of technological innovations. That's a way better answer than saying, oh, the government did it. The government's hiding the information. The government is going out of their way to stop black people from realizing their ancient pharaonic roots and going back to Egypt, dynastic Egypt. They're all in the way. It's all a coy. It's all a coup. It's all a coup to take down black people and hurt their pride and hurt their identitarian claims.
And Arab polities, right? Then enter Africa. So they've been trying to cut off Egypt since forever. And in fact, if the modern state of Israel could take Egypt today, they would. In fact, they're trying to take parts of it now.
I told you. It's the damn Jews. The Jews are doing it. They got something to do with it. I told you, niggas are predictable as fuck. And this whole thing was going live, but my bro out of blue came on, so we kind of behind. We're probably like 30, 40, 50, maybe an hour behind the live, but I knew he was going to go with this damn angle. It's always some kind of outside force that's coming in. And here, newsflash, Shakka, the people in Egypt today are the ancient Egyptians. They're the descendants. A lot of them are the descendants of ancient Egyptians. So what you're saying just makes no fucking sense at all.
So I appreciate that, Joseph, very much so. So now we're going to look at some documentation, because that's what we came to look at, and that's what I was asked to show. It's not a lot. Like I said, it's very little. The other part of it also is that for the most part is true. Yeah, absolutely. Actually, that's absolutely true. For the most part, as I said, there's not a lot of literature on the topic. And the other part of it is, and I have to say this, SANETER just contacted me last night and asked me to do this today. So it wasn't like I had a PowerPoint just sitting around waiting on this particular topic. I have hundreds and thousands of PowerPoints. I just didn't have one on this particular topic sitting around. So I
said you being see, I know you, Shakka. You stay up damn near all night and sleep during the day a lot because you be up all night. And so I said, I got to give him a subject that challenges him, that make him go and dig up something, you know? And so that's why I came up with that topic, man.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though. By you doing that's what caused me to come late, because instead of doing my shopping that I would normally do to put some food in here, because you need energy when your brain needs carbs. So, and I was unable to do that. So I knew that once I came on here, there's no telling how long I'd be on here. By the time we get off the store would be closed. So I was like, I gotta go grab something. But before I did that, I just threw a quick something together. And remember, it's not even really the preponderance of literature that should answer this question for you. It's the quality of the literature, right? The quality of the literature should answer the question for you. So let's take a look at it. First, we're going to look at a supposition. And the reason I call it a supposition is that when Gadala wrote his book, Egyptian Exile, or Egypt in Exile, when he wrote that, part of the drawback of his book is he didn't provide sources. There's no bibliography. So we have to take him at face value and then do our research to see if what he said was true. So that's what we're going to look at right now. Let's see here. I'm going to present. Are you ready for me, Buck?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we're going to show this to the people. Right, here we go. Entire screen. And here we are. We should be sharing. Yes.
Yep, your screen is sharing.
Hold up. Where is my oh, here we go. Why the heck did it do that? Okay. Hold on, I'm gonna stop sharing for a second because that's why. Hold on one second. My PowerPoint ended up on top of oh gosh, this thing is being a pain in the neck. Hold on. All right. Okay, we're gonna close this. I've got too many PowerPoints open. Okay, cool. No problem. All right, now we're good. All right. Okay. So now I'm going to present again. Here we go. Share screen. Share screen. Share entire. There we go. All right. So now I'm sharing my screen again. Okay. So, all right. So, oh, darn it, man. This thing does that. Okay. So, what the heck? Oh my God, I hate this machine. Okay. Are you with me, sir?
I'm here.
Okay. All right. We're reading. All right.
You can't see me above you?
No, not when I'm doing this. All I can see is just.
Yeah, I'm right above you.
All right. So this is from Exiled Egyptians: The Heart of Africa by Mustafa Gadala. He's a graduate of the University of Cairo, 1967. The year I was born. He's a graduate of engineering, and he's also an Egyptian national. So he's born and raised in Egypt. And in his book, this is what he says on page 128 in the second paragraph. He said, by combining oral traditions, ethno-history, and archaeological evidence, dating of minor settlements, tombs, mining activities, etc., one can see that the newcomers to West Africa begin from the Nile Valley and progressed westward along the Sahel region. Okay, westward, all right?
Do y'all see the problem with this? Two things. The date. This was written in 1967. 1967. This is out of date. And this, for my audience watching, for something to be out of date or outdated, doesn't just necessarily mean it's old. It just means that the information is no longer useful. It outlived its use. This shit is from 1967, and it's just a damn claim. It's a claim. This is not a DNA test, which they wouldn't even have in 1967, right? This is not something that is going to be concrete and definite. This is somebody putting a goddamn claim in a book, and that's what y'all run into all the time. Exiled Egyptians, the heart of Africa. Let me look at this. Let me look this up. Oh my God! Here's another pseudo book for the fucking Egyptians. Right here, Mustafa Gadaya. Let me see. Because it says 1967 right there. Is that the publication of the book? Pardon me. It says originally published 1999. So what does he have on the screen here? Or is that when he graduated? That's still 1999. That's still fucking 26 years ago. That's out. You outdated, man. 26 years ago, 1999. Mustafa Gadaya, $10 Kindle buy. I'm gonna show you what real books look like. I just gotta do this real quick. Those are mobile technologies of the Sahara. Let me see. Okay. Mobile technology, ancient Sahara beyond. Let me see. Let me just see how much. It's a Cambridge book, right? So, what's the worth? Just real quick, man. Oh, what does that matter? I'm just curious, man. I brought a little $10 book up. Oh, look at that. It's $160. The value of your little pseudo book from 1999 versus the book I've been reading from all night, Mobile Technologies in the Ancient Sahara and Beyond. It's valued at $160 on Google Play Books and Barnes & Noble's ebook app. Y'all using fucking little bitty kitty ass books. Gorilla in the vocab chat right now. He getting roasted over his DNA bad. Really? My Gorilla Hebrew showing face after the whole little ordeal, man. You should be trying to fall back, to be honest with you. But yeah, your man's in them over here using this damn Heart of Africa book by Mustafa Gadala. It says, read a concise and comprehensive historical account of Egypt for the last 3,000 years. Read about the forgotten. Hold on. We got to read that. Hold on real quick. Hold on. Let me read this, man. This shit crazy, bro. Hold on. This shit. Yeah, this some mythos right here for your ass. Read a concise and comprehensive historical account of Egypt for the last 3,000 years. So we not even going back that far. We're just going the last 3,000 years. Read about the forgotten ancient Egyptians who fled to foreign invasions and religious oppressions. So basically what Shakka is reading is claiming that these West Africans got there within the last 3,000 years, which is not true at all. Again, West Africans were in places like Nigeria, Ghana, and surrounding areas at least 4,500 years ago. I could actually show y'all that. It says, read about the forgotten ancient Egyptians who fled to foreign invasions and religious oppressors. Read how they rebuilt the ancient Egyptian model system in Africa when Egypt itself became an Arab colony. Read about the ancient Egyptian social, economical, and political systems and their steady application in sub-Saharan Africa. Oh, man. This is bad. This is your book, bro. You went to a mythos book? Find out how the Islamic Jihad fragmented and dispersed the African continent into the endless misery and chaos. Discover the true causes and dynamics of African slavery. You know what? I might buy this book. It's only $10. Just so I go through and pick through it and destroy the shit. Just because this nigga had the nerve and the audacity and the unmitigated gall to go get a book like this. This is a bullshit ass book. So West Africans are the result. This is what I was saying, man. Y'all be having anachronistic arguments all the time. Are the result of a fucking flea event. Egyptians fled and were deported or ran. Just like the damn Israelite argument is. Oh, the Israelites ran into Africa. They ran into, Ghana and Nigeria and shit. Get the fuck out of here. Again, if I open up my handy dandy Kindle and I go to my library and I click a book, a little book, I don't use books like this. This is a garbage ass book. The Oxford Handbook of Nigerian History. Let's go to a book that's worth its salt. You know what I'm saying? It might cost you a little bit, but maybe that's the problem. All right, so now we're gonna go let me see if I get a quick reference here. When we start seeing people inhabit what we know as Nigeria, right, and the western parts of Africa. Let me show you. Right here. I'm gonna pull this up, man. Northeast, southeast axis. Right here. I got it right here. Boom. Right here. So I'm gonna open up my Kindle again, y'all. Oh, my Kindle. And we're gonna read. We're gonna do some reading, right? So it says we're gonna start right here. We're in the Oxford Handbook of Nigerian History, right? And we're on page 111. And it says here, as the Sahara once began drier from about 5,000 years ago, so this is 3,000 BC. So this is the time of the first dynasty of Egypt. We have to know this. We have to know timelines so we can properly place this in its historical context. So about 5,000 years ago, you had pastoralists spread from the Sahara, right? So from its Saharan origins towards Western Africa along a northeast southwest axis, reaching the Sahel and northern Nigeria in the early second millennium BCE. So this is when we start seeing waves of people dumping into Nigeria or the known regions of Western Africa. Before then, it was sparsely inhabited, right? So they get here around the second millennium BC. That's 4,000 years ago. Egypt was having they were getting closer and closer to the Middle Kingdom. They were within the Middle Kingdom, actually, or transitioning to what we know as the Middle Kingdom. They had their own thing going. West Africans were over here in this region around the second millennium BCE. Right? So around this same time, other West African regions too see pastoral and agricultural food-producing economies and associated social changes. Among the examples which have been well documented and studied are the Harchachit complex in Mauritania, Ghana's Kantompo culture, the inland Niger Delta, and Mali's Tilimsi Valley, with the thus far earliest evidence of the aforementioned economic innovations. These areas are very few widely known key areas in West Africa where the socio-economic transition between hunter-gatherers, lifestyles, and pastoralists and agrarian communities can be most clearly observed. So again, this is 4,000 years ago. So there were already Africans here in the west coast of Africa. They're already here by 3,000 years ago. So this is idiotic to even say some dumb shit like this. It says, due to the high water levels in Lake Chad in the early and middle Holocene, large portions of northeastern Nigeria, Chad Basin were underwater and consequently uninhabitable during that period. However, hunter-gatherers and fishers lived around the shores of the lake. Their presence is attested by the find of a dugout canoe 8 meters long near the village of Dufuna, dating approximately 8,000 years ago. It represents Africa's oldest known watercraft. The invention of water travel brought human beings a variety of advantages. It enabled the use of lacustrine resources through more efficient fishing. And this word here, lacustrine, is basically just saying evolving lakes. Just a layman term is talking about dealing with lakes. It's an increased mobility and allowed to transport objects more effectively than had been possible on land. Given such advantages, boats are certain to have been a fixture of communities living near water, even though the next archaeological evidence of their use in Nigeria occurs only 5,000 years later during the Nok culture. Palynological and sedimentary data, in addition to climate simulations and archaeological sequencing, have established that the Holocene climate of Sahara moved from a high humidity in the early Holocene to arid conditions in the late Holocene. Around 3000 BCE, accordingly, the southern Sahara lakes began to dry up and even the enormous Lake Chad decreased. By 2000 BCE, at the latest, this late Holocene aridity pushed the pastoralists living in southern Sahara into the Sahel zone of West Africa, where they initiated the beginning of a new epoch with deep socio-economic changes. So again, your book is bunk because it doesn't line up with the timeline of when we start to see people inhabit West Africa, which is about 4,000 to 5,000 years ago. Your book that you brought up, your little fairy tale book that Shakka just brought up, says within the last 3,000 years, people fled from Egypt into West Africa. This is bullshit. This is bullshit. There's more to this. There's more to this. It says, though the fusion explanatory models are met with more skepticism today than they were in the 20th century, population movements cannot be dismissed out of hand. In case of migration from the Sahara to Sahel, the evidence is provided not only by the plausibility of climatic arguments, but also various finds and finds context. Strong evidence is also given by the origins of cattle and caprines, such as sheep and goats. None of these have wild ancestors south of the Sahara, but only in northern Africa and the Near East, where the domestication is attested long before their appearance in the Sahel zone. Their origins must lie in the north, and because domesticated animals do not migrate alone, their owners must have migrated with them. And that's what I was telling you earlier. We know where these people come from. Again, as you can see this map here, let me see if it works. It worked. Thank God it worked, because sometimes it doesn't. You see where it says the Tlemcen Valley, the Hartachit, Walata Nima. Now, all of this is most primarily covered with the Sahara today, but during the Green Sahara, this would all been green pastures, green grasses, right? So that's what a savanna is. These savannas, prime for pastoralists and their animals. So again, like I said earlier, the people of West Africa do not come from Egypt. They literally come from southern Algeria, Mali, Mauritania, and Western Sahara. Literally. We can see it. And then they transition from these sites and go south and go to the Kintampo complex in Ghana. And they make their way to the Gajigana complex in Nigeria. And, of course, the No culture. So they're more north, like northern West Africa, and they go southwards. Okay, as you guys all see on the screen. I'm buying actual credible books, not shit from 1999 from some damn suit, man. Your man using pseudo motherfucking references. Let's just keep it a buck here. All right, so it says temporal spatial models of the spread of cattle and sheep goats throughout Africa as based on carbon-14 dates of the earliest finds all show similar patterns in which new finds have so far been easy to integrate. The earliest finds of domesticated cattle stem from the central eastern Sahara and decrease in age as they move through the sub-Saharan regions of Africa. Basically, we can see that the older cattle are coming from the Sahara region, north region, and then they make their way south, and we see it get younger and younger as they get to south, the southern regions, which means they got to the southern regions recently within the last 4,000 or 5,000 years. To read on, it says comparisons between finds in the Sahara Desert and the Chad Basin provides archaeological arguments for a Saharan origin of the first Chad Basin settlers after reducing the Lake Chad water levels. Pottery finds particularly compelling, while ceramic finds in the Sahara are remarkably old. Pottery appears in northeastern Nigeria only from the second millennium BCE onwards. So that's when we start seeing people there. We see the pottery, we see pastoralism, evidence of crop cultivation in Nigeria around the second millennium BCE. So they will be in here getting things popping on the west coast of Africa while Egypt is within its dynastic age. So there's no way you can mix the two or say that one came from the other or say that the Egyptians fled to Egypt. This is why y'all got to spend more time reading instead of on social media bullshitting. And reading correct information, not mythos. It says occasional older findings date back as early as 5,000 BCE. Oh, let me keep reading. It says Nigeria only from the second millennium BCE onwards. That is beginning in the period in which pastoralists would have drifted south. Occasionally, older finds date back as early as 5,000 BCE. And based on stylistic similarities, these suggest contact between the Sahara and the Sahelian Chad Basin. Such finds, however, were exceptions and did not mark a profound innovation in the life of the hunter-gatherer groups. It is only in the early second millennium BCE that a significant change of pottery occurrence can be determined, likely indicating the immigration of Saharan pastoralists. This is where many of these West Africans are coming from. They're Saharan pastoralists. We descend from these green Saharan pastoralists. Only from this period onwards do we do ceramic finds predominate numerically and can therefore be considered a fine category characteristic of the time. Anyway, the resulting conclusion that the popularity of ceramic technology is linked with the arrival of Saharan migrants is bolstered by the fact that the ceramics of the southern Sahara and northeastern Nigeria Sahel during this time exhibit a marked similarity of production technique and decorative patterns. However, large-scale studies systematically examine both ecological zones as how cultural similarities arising from shared roots have yet to be attempted. The same is true for different fine categories by facially retouched arrowheads, most often with a concave base and edges, made from various fine grains and amorphous flint variants. Such finds occur in large numbers in the Sahara, but appear more rarely in more humid regions, such as south of the Sahara, and they are only in the context of hypothesized immigration of Saharan population. This suggests that the tradition of bifacially retouched arrowheads was imported southwards into the Sahel zone by migrating Saharan pastoralists. I mean, I gotta keep reading this shit. In one case, finds of this type even appear as far south as the wetter Guinea savanna, which spread has been advanced as an argument for linking Ghana's earliest food-producing complex, the Kintampo culture, to the migration of Saharan Sahel population southward. We know where we come from, man. The evidence don't point towards Egypt; it points towards northwest Africa, Mali, Mauritania, Western Sahara, Southern Algeria. It says, although arrowheads suggest hunting, the archaeozoological examination of fauna remains from the Chad Basin sites at which bifacial arrowheads occur show that hunting wild mammals, reptiles, and birds did not play a significant role during the time of the early agro-pastoralist communities. Either the arrowheads were used for hunting animals that are not represented in the archaeozoological record, or bows and arrows serve other purposes, such as hunting of predators to protect the livestock. So y'all get the gist of that, man. Real quick, I get you another. Northwest Africa isn't good enough. They don't want to be connected to Northwest Africa. They got to go to Northeast Africa. They got to be connected to the pharaohs in Egypt. Here's the problem. You have an issue with chronology. During the time of the pharaonic reign, the early dynastic years of Egypt, West Africans were starting the Kintampo complex. They were starting the Harta complex. All these burial sites that we find, they were over here and spreading their pottery, spreading their material culture, and letting it matriculate through the west coast of Africa. During these times, the Egyptians were, getting it popping on the northeast. Come on, man. We really educating y'all on this channel, man. These other dudes, they indoctrinating you. That's all they're doing. Sharing you all this fantasy shit, fantastical bullshit, whimsical shit. Again, I showed you the difference in price in books, man. $160 versus $10. There's a reason why for that. Anyway, let me go to my playbooks, Google Playbooks real quick. Let me log into my other account. And I want to get the book known as the Oxford Handbook of African Archaeology. All right, and I want to go to a portion of this book that deals with, for some reason, all my highlights are going. Okay, there it is. That deals with, this book takes a shit on Diop. Yeah, it takes a shit on Diop. I forgot. I should have mentioned this one. But yeah. When Africans first got to West Africa, because before it was sparsely inhabited. Let me find that real quick. Now we're going to the Oxford Handbook of African Archaeology. Right? So, yeah, man. Y'all don't even want to read about the external crops. Really good purchase. I'm glad I got this book, man. It's a suit killer. It kills suits. Let me hard search it real quick. Type in sparsely. I got a lot of sparsely occupied. Demographic shifts. with several areas being sparse into the symbiotic relationship with farmers, hunting guys occupying them, probably waxed and waned several times. All right, let me see. 2500 BC. It's been a minute since I pulled this source. Research. 25,000. Man. I want to find this where it talks about all right, here it is. This might be it. Additional coincidence between major intensified and humans. Yeah, right here. So this series of changes in movement that took place, despite a large laconi and geographical. In addition to coincidence between a major intensification human settlement of Central Africa, 2500 to 1500 EP. No, that's not it. That's not it. Hey, man, I want to pull this source, man. I got a lot of highlights in this book too, so it's hard going through my damn highlights. But I'm gonna find it. Y'all bear with me. I want to try to just let the goofball video play. Yeah, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna let the goofball video play while I find this source. Let's let Shakka obfuscate some more with this old ass source or whatever.
They then progressed to the area of Lake Chad, Tashed, and the Jos Plateau. From there to the Niger River, and then toward the Senegal River. The movement was continuous and demonstrable. 2 major westerly migrations took place from the Nile Valley. Okay, so did you see that, Sa? Did you see that, SANETER?
Yeah, I see it.
Okay, so now that I mean, being that you're the one that asked me the question, you should have some kind of reaction to it. But now that we've seen it, as I said, the problem with his book is that he doesn't provide any sources, which means that you have to go looking on your own to determine if what he said or not was accurate. So now we're going to look at, I prefer to go with what Shakka said, which I should have had it here. Shakka said that Egypt had always been black from like 50,000 years before present. This is before the migrations. I should have had that on the screen, but I didn't. I'll show it before we end it. But let's go to science, okay? This is the Quaternary Science Reviews. Okay, it's a journal. The Quaternary is a scientific review journal. And if you go to directscience.com, you could see the article from the journal on that website. It's a very reputable website. It's good. It's peer-reviewed, so on and so on. Or they use peer-reviewed work. So this article is called, "Did Increased Flooding During the African Humid Period Force Migration of Modern Humans from the Nile Valley?" Okay, I'm going to read it again. Did increased flooding during the African humid period force migration of modern humans from the Nile Valley? Right? Okay. This is a picture of the article. Did increased flooding during the African humid period force migration of modern humans from the Nile Valley? The Quaternary Science Reviews. You can get it yourself, people. You can read it, right? During the Quaternary period, the Eastern Sahara hydroclimate oscillated between wet and dry intervals. These oscillations caused drastic changes in precipitation rates, often associated with ancient human migrations. In particular, significant migration of riparian populations from the Nile Valley to the west.
Whoa! Uh-oh.
Okay? That's science. That's not Shakka most.
That's not science. Hold on, wait. Listen to what he just read, bro. That shit crazy. I had to stop looking for that source when I heard that shit. Look what this nigga just read. Hold on, let's go back. Because it got blurry. Bro, it says on the screen the increase of mean annual precipitation in our estimates of intensity likely ruined the Nile Valley into a hazardous place due to flood-related risks, driving people to migrate mainly to the west and northwestwards for roughly 3,000 years. It doesn't say West Africa. It just says to the west and northwestward for roughly 3,000 years. Yeah, what? That don't mean that they went to West Africa. Then they tried to make this seem like it went to West Africa and they dropped a bomb. They dropped a bomb. It just means they went to the Sahara. Everybody knows the Nile Valley was not inhabitable at that time. They just went to the Western Desert, man. What the fuck? What's now the Western Desert? Anyway, I'll let it play.
Let me get my bombs ready, baby.
Okay.
Get my bombs ready.
I'm gonna read that.
But then it says once the annual precipitation pretty much balanced out, the populations reoccupied the Nile Valley because of the Sahara's arid conditions. A lot of people don't understand that during this time you don't start seeing people populate the Nile Valley to 7,000 BCE because of this. The Nile Valley was inhabitable at this time. This paper is not saying they went to West Africa. It's not saying that. It's just saying that, hey, after this flooding period, heavy inundations here in the Nile Valley, they went west. Possibly they went west into what we call the Western Desert, going into what we call Libya. That's what this paper is saying. It doesn't say they went to Ghana. It doesn't say they went to Nigeria. Boy, use a damn pseudo. Super pseudo, man.
That part again is important. These isolations cause drastic changes in precipitation rates, often associated with ancient human migrations. In particular, significant migration of riparian populations from the Nile Valley to the west.
Yes.
Monsoon intensification. So the first thing you have to accept, whether you like it or not, is we have scientific documentation that there were population migrations from the Nile Valley to the west of the continent. Period.
The paper don't say that. All right, now I'll stop looking for that other source. I'm just going to pull this up. Did increase flooding during the African human period, forced migration of modern humans from the Nile Valley. Let's type that in. Did increased flooding force, what was the rest of it? Force during the African humid period, forced migration. Okay. During the African humid period, forced migration. All right, so let's pull this paper up. Right here. Oh, it's 2021 too. That's a good paper. Did increase flooding during the African humid period, forced migration of modern humans from the Nile Valley. It says a chronological and paleohydrological approach has been applied to 6 fossil rivers. Human migration from the Nile Valley may have been driven by increased flooding for about 3,000 years. So during the Quaternary period, the Eastern Sahara's hydroclimate oscillated between wet and dry intervals. These oscillations cause drastic changes in precipitation rates, often associated with ancient human migration. In particular, significant migrations of riparian populations from the Nile Valley to the west and northwestward of the Sahara occurred during the African humid period. An episode of increased monsoons which characterized North Africa in response to increasing insolation. Several fossil rivers now preserved as ridges throughout southern Egypt due to their floodplains deflation contain archaeological artifacts that thus represent a potentially important record of fluvial activity during the episode of past human dynamics and environmental change. Here we present carbon dating and optical optically stimulated luminescence ages of sediments preserved in these paleo rivers, which cluster within the AHP, which is the African humid period, and are thus consistent with increased fluvial activity during the distinct humid period. Hydraulic reconstructions based on grain size, channel geometry, and drainage areas suggest typical precipitation intensifies of 55 to 80 millimeters per hour during sediment transport events. Given previous annual rainfall estimates, these hydrologic conditions may have lasted or occurred during the African humid period up to 3 to 4 times more frequently than before and after this period. Such intense fluvial activity is consistent with monsoons intensification and may have rendered the area inhospitable for human settlements, congruent with population migration out of the Nile Valley during the African humid period. These findings highlight links between past human ecodynamics and environmental signals, providing a concrete narrative of human population response to warming with potential echo in the current situation. So, yeah, I mean, most people that know deep history of Egypt, they know that the Nile Valley pretty much overflowed. That's basically what that's telling you. It overflowed, monsoons, a lot of rain, a lot of water inundating the area that is now known as the Nile Valley. So they don't live there. So it goes on to read, the late quaternary climate oscillations in the Eastern Sahara region may have been identified based on paleo discharge and sediment load estimates of the Nile River, cave, dust fluxes, pollen records, groundwater fed deposits, ancient water courses, archaeological evidence, and abrupt fluctuations of lake levels and lacustrine deposits, lake deposits, basically. These proxies suggest that at least 4 human periods may have punctuated the past circa 65,000 years. The last most significant wet period, based on the interpretation of archaeological sites associated with paleozoological proxies and pollen records, persisted from early to mid-Holocene times and was termed the African humid period. So that's about 14.8 thousand years to 5.5 thousand years before present. Although a number of uncertainties remain on the regional extent of this wet period across North Africa, as well as on its timing and magnitude, notably because of evidence of low lake river discharge levels during this period. Multiple paleoclimatic proxies nevertheless broadly converge toward estimates of annual precipitation rates of 300 and 920 millimeters per year in the Eastern Sahara. This humidity favored the growth of vegetation, multiplication of active rivers, and development of perennial lakes, turning the arid Sahara into a savanna-like environment, and may have made the Nile Valley into a marshy and hazardous place, which is hypothesized to have triggered the migration of its riparian populations toward the deep Sahara across several hundred kilometers. To further test how plausible the hypothesis is that the environmental perturbations during the AHP drove human migration away from the Nile Valley, this work aims to estimate the paleo rainfall intensities involved in transforming the Nile Valley into an inhospitable region. So the paleo lakes, we see here, and here, human occupation, and it's just like I see it. Human occupation. Look, does this say West Africa? Oh my God, bro. Does this say Nigeria? Does it say that? So it's got the human occupations here for everybody to see. Let me blow this up where it's hypothesizing these people were at. Download full-size image. Share this tab. The red dots are the human occupation. Okay, the pollen records. All it's saying is they don't live on the Nile Valley no more. They're in the west, what we now call the Western Desert. At this time, it would not have been a Western Desert, as we can see. Boy, snake oil salesman. Either you're a snake oil salesman, or you don't understand what you're reading, or you're having a hard time comprehending what you're reading, because it's saying during the African humid period, these red dots represent the human occupation, as you guys can see that. And most of them, basically, they moved away from the Nile Valley. It's saying they moved away from the Nile Valley. It's not saying that they went all the way to Nigeria. This is silly shit. As you all can see, the red dots are the people, or the human occupation during the African human phase. And yes, they will be going towards Libya, but they're not outside of it. They're not all the way over here. They're not in Senegal somewhere. And some of them are southwards, what you would say in modern day Sudan. And this may be Chad here, right here. This one little dot here, okay. But majority of this is over here. So what the fuck is this dude talking about, man? Come on, man. This is idiocy. This is idiocy at its finest. Okay. Pre-African human period settlements, study rivers, inverted areas. So anyway, when it says West, it does not mean West Africa, you dumbass. It just means where these red dots are. They went west. And I figured that. Just logical deduction and knowing the literature and knowing about this area. The Western Desert is being brought up a lot. And we read a paper the other day about the Western Desert, the people in the Western Desert being related to Levantine people coming back and repopulating the Nile Valley after this period, around 7,000 years ago. Or 7,000 BC, excuse me. 7,000 BC. So, yeah, that's a problem. That's a huge problem. So the distribution of climatic proxies that indicate human phases over the past 7,000 years, particularly the African human period, pollen records, human occupation in the Eastern Sahara, lacustrine deposits, groundwater-fed deposits, cave speleothems, sediment cores, fluvial records, digitally rendered mosaic of Landsat 8 image relief map showing the location of the study area and distribution of ancient rivers in southern Egypt. Portions derived from Esri World imagery shows Gabal Haman, one paleo river standing as ridges in the modern landscape. So, I don't know if I had to keep reading this. He pretty much put a banana in the tailpipe here. Because none of this is saying that they went to Nigeria. I'm pretty sure if I hard search Nigeria, nothing's going to come up. Results, iron oxide. Let me go down. Go down. Boy, I tell you, man. Dumber than a box of rocks is not the word to explain this at all. Confirm our hypothesis. I'm just skimming through it right now. I don't see anything in here saying that these motherfuckers went to the West Coast. And even the segment that he had on the paper says that they came back to the Nile Valley. So the discussion, see if there's anything interesting here to even bring up. Channel flows. Yada. Let me see. Human occupation of the margins of the Nile in southern Egypt and northern Sudan began before circa 25,000 years before present. It was associated with hyper-arid conditions, which forced the limit of the Sahara Desert 4,000 kilometers farther south than it is in its current position. A lot of people don't understand that the Sahara was even bigger when you go to the Pleistocene. No settlements are documented in the Deep Sahara. During the AHP, which is African human phase, previous work has proposed that the climate perturbation drove settlements to disperse into the Deep Sahara because of both enhanced monsoon rains, which favored milder savanna-like environments in the Sahara and hazardous and possibly marshy conditions along the Nile Valley in southern Europe and northern Sudan due to increased fluvial activity. So that's all it's saying. They left the Nile Valley. And it's not saying they went somewhere completely different, like the Ivory Coast or some shit. Our results demonstrate that rainfall activity magnified by a factor of 3 to 4 during the African human phase are consistent with these observations and bring a quantitative estimate of the increase in flood-related risk for riparian populations. These flood-related risks might have turned some parts of southern Egypt and northern Sudan into hazardous places that resulted in settlement abandonment for nearly 3,200 years. Flood-induced human migration likely occurred when increased precipitation and discharge raised the rivers Avotion I can't even say this word. This is not coming out right, man. The river's flood rates, right? Driving large-scale flooding to partly or wholly immerse the Nile's marginal areas and floodplains. This scenario is, for instance, consistent with the recent catastrophic floods that cause millions of population displacements globally every year. The link between environmental challenges and dynamics of human population is also consistent with the observation that the population returned along the Nile Valley corridor when it became more hospitable than the Sahara in response to the termination of the African human phase and correlative aridification of the Sahara. So basically it says that same population that moved to the Western Desert, because it's not talking about Ghana, Benin, Togo. It's not talking about that. It's not talking about Senegal or any of that. It's not talking about Mali, Mauritania. It's not talking about Nigeria, Cameroon, Angola. It's not talking about that at all. It's just saying they moved away from the damn Nile Valley and went to what we now call the Western damn desert, and then they came back. It says, despite existing more hospitable places along the Nile Valley after the end of the African human phase, Macklin et al. Reported 2 phases of decreased Nile flows recorded by channel contractions in Northern Sudan between 4,000 to 3,000 years before present, and after 3,000 years before present, that were hazardous, causing settlement abandonment. So that's 4,000 to 3,000 years ago. Our chronological data show that at least 2 paleo rivers were active after the African human phase. However, we could not notice any changes in human occupation, but catastrophic storms were mentioned in the Broken Stele and the Karnak Temple, describing the destruction of Thebes region circa 3.5 thousand years ago, reflecting that floods after the African human phase were hazardous, but to some extent were manageable. So here's some time charts here in occupation. Look at this. They're still along the Nile 20 to 10,000 years before present. 10,000 to 7,000 years. Look, it shows you where they moved to. It does not say anything about no goddamn ancient Egyptians, man. I'm going to have to clip this and put this in the groups. This is the retarded shit. It doesn't say anything about ancient Egyptians or these old paleo Egyptians moving towards what we now call Ghana, Benin, Togo, the Ivory Coast, Nigeria. It doesn't say none of the sort. You heard the word west. West is a direction. They went westward, meaning they went away from the Nile. As you can see, most of the populations that were once, I guess, all hugging the Nile because that's the water source. Remember, it was a big-ass desert over here at that time, 20,000 years ago. Then it becomes wet. Now, what you now know as the Western Desert was probably a savanna. And the Nile flooded and it became very hazardous to live there. So they moved west. West from the Nile. West from the Nile. God damn. Oh, my God. You know what? I'm just going to turn the damn live off and go to bed. This is just dumb. This is fucking stupid. All right. You see, that's why I like using pictures, because maybe reading is just a little too hard for y'all. So maybe just reading. Maybe you should do some reading. Look, they even have populations living towards the Mediterranean coast. Then look, reoccupation. You see those arrows? The people are starting to move back to the Nile. Right? Now the water has receded and went back to its normal levels. Now people are moving back to the Nile. It doesn't say anything about these people going to West Africa. Ah, my God. Anyway, distribution of human settlements in the Eastern Sahara over the Holocene epoch plotted from Cooper and Cropland 2006. The curve represents the average of modeled and reconstructed precipitation rates, simplified from figure 6b. The human settlements were concentrated along the Nile River Valley in southern Egypt and northern Sudan before 10,000 years ago. Because of Sahara's arid conditions, as recorded by mean annual precipitation. This is consistent with the dearth of ages recorded by our study. During the B map, during the peak of the AHP, circa 10,000 to 7,000 years ago, the mean annual precipitation had risen to the peak levels up to 3-4 times more than before, transferring the hyper-arid conditions to savanna-like environments. That's what I just said, reflecting hospitable regions in the deep Sahara for human settlements. This increase of mean annual precipitation in our estimates of intensity likely turned the Nile Valley into a hazardous place due to flood-related risks, driving people to migrate mainly to the west and northwestwards for roughly 3,000 years. Once the mean annual precipitation started to decline, at circa 7,000 years before present, the population reoccupied the Nile Valley because of the Sahara's arid conditions. Our reconstruction suggests fewer dates during the past 5,000 years ago, reflecting the dramatic, strong, and drastic diminishing of the human conditions. This is what the paper is saying. They ain't talking about no goddamn. You even have an illustration here showing you that they just went west in Egypt, away from the Nile, west from the Nile. You got to be fucking retarded at this point, man. And, you know, it's 10 o'clock, man. I think I should just end the show, man. Maybe finish the show later. Like, come on. Come on, man. This is stupidity at its greatest. So I'm just going to leave y'all. This is a pseudoscientist, man. This is retarded as hell. Shakka Amos, you are a charlatan. SANETER, you are the king of the charlatans, the king of the suits. You earned that title, man. You earned that title for a good 10, 15, maybe 20 years of just constant dominance of Sood on the YouTube. I'm out of here, y'all. I can't do it no more, man. We had a 3-hour mark. This is stupidity at its finest. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna leave y'all with a jam, and I'm out of here, bro. Y'all know how we rock it, man. Fuck the ops, bro. These niggas pseudo as fuck, nigga. These niggas pseudo as fuck, bro. You know what I'm saying? Let me just load this up real quick, man. Let me load up something real quick and we get up out of here. Ain't no future in your fucking front, man. Fuck the ops.
Yeah. Sound good to me. This sound hard. Something funky people gon' dance to. Give the record a second and a chance to. Hitting people like a scene of amazement. While they slipping back, my feet just planted in the pavement. Crumble I can never do. So now I'm looking dead at you. What are you gonna do? You listen to the knowledge of a scholar. You say how I breathe, tell them how I holler. I'm the E-double, and I proclaim my name. Straight up, good gang, peeps all game. I'm like a rhino, running through the roughest pack. They figure I'm a trigger happy nigga, so they step back, breathe. The microphone is who lasts the longest, so who's the strongest. It ain't a game, it's plain to see. You listen to the sounds of breathe. There ain't no future in the front. I never got caught with a kilo, and if you ever do, yo, will never be with me, yo. Serve it in a Cherokee, and maybe it's a Geo. Black on black Benzo, we'll get it up amigo. Never have to worry about my posse getting jumped, cause if we ever do, yo, TB, pop the trunk. Cause we don't go for playing, wanna play, go grab a ball. When I'm on the mic, I ain't for playing, not at all. Cause I clock 10 G's a week, booming at my peak. Always CE sober, but I do get geek. I can give you a job, a place to eat. Hardy, meet your homeboy Marty at a B.O.B. Party taking over, barking like a dog named Rover. I'm picking circles like a 4-leaf clover. Ain't biting words on the mic, they some cobras. So now they saying egg breeders getting over. But ain't no future in your front. There ain't no future in your front. I'm the B, the R to the double E-D, and down with my homie G-A-S-N-O-E, and suckers causing static cause they still be disagreeing. I don't give a, cause I'm from F-L-I-N-T in a city where pity runs slow. If you ever shoot through my city, now you know, cause we a strictly business and we also got a pride. And if you don't like it, I suggest you break wide. Suckers study looking for the ammo when he wire, thinking that illegal is the best one, so they dying. I ain't got time to see a fiend out, to give up all his money and to give up what he got. That's the way I am, MC B cannot be different. Never change the ways for the world or the government. If I was the president, then I would state facts. You leave it up to me, I paint the White House black and ain't no future in your front. There ain't no future in your front. and not from rolling. If I was a fiend, then my gold would be stolen. But my name breed on everything I own. And when I get my Jeep, I'm putting breed on the chrome. Shine it up good, kicking through my neighborhood. Motorola phone, fat rims in a Kenwood. Put the kid around it, and then I'll have it drop. Just because I'm riding, people think I'm selling rocks, but they don't feature your front. There ain't no feature in your front. They'll flash when you drop that. To the rules of the world. Live my life raw cause I never liked the law. Wear top 10s on my ass, use jeans. Selling big gates and tit for tat to the fiends. Like much dollars but I never break a sweat. Time to move out, my posse saying, you got my back and I got yours. What time is it? Tear down the door. It ain't no feature in your front. Never was, cuz. There ain't no feature in your front. Yo, man, let's start this party up, right? Kick out that fat dance.